They try to silence the truth we shout, but we're still here, we're still calling out. Corruption hides behind a badge of name. We light the fire, expose the shame. We're justice seekers, we'll fight the fight for every voice lost in the night. My life mattered is the cry we sing for the ones they tried to bury within. It's just us, we're a movement wide. Together we rise, won't run nor hide. The stories echo, the pain runs deep. For stolen lives we can't just weep. Elected power, but their hearts are cold. We'll bring the truth, let it be told. We're justice seekers, we'll fight the fight for every voice lost in the night. My life mattered is the cry we sing for the ones they try to bury within. It's just us, we're a movement wide. Together we rise, won't run nor hide. We're justice seekers, we'll fight the fight. The heroes undo the harm. Calling out corruption, we'll stand tall. For justice and truth, we'll risk it all. My life mattered is the cry we sing. Together we rise, let freedom ring.
Hello, greetings, everyone. Greetings, social change warriors, justice seekers. We are social change warriors, and welcome back to another episode of our series on trials, and we call it Friday Night Lies. We are looking for the truth on Friday nights. Who's telling the truth? Who's lying? Who's being evasive? What the heck is going on in all the states in America right now? That's pretty much what we're taking a look at now on Friday Night Lies. We started out live streaming only on the Karen Read trial last January. Leading up to the trial, we were reviewing trial 1, going over the witness testimonies. Did they lie? Did they tell the truth? Were they being evasive? All of the craziness that's gone on social media with anti-Karen Read versus free Karen Read, and then infighting. And it's just been, I don't know that there's ever been a death of one human that has caused this much uproar and this much time spent bickering and arguing and putting one another down. I never seen anything like it in all my years in law enforcement or as a social worker or following true crime. And I'm pretty confident everybody could agree with me with that. So since the trial ended and Karen was acquitted, she is now free. So now we move on, as Julie and I have been saying, to phase 2, which is standing for John O'Keefe, which we've been doing all along. Everybody that was, I can't think of one person, and I'm sure there isn't one person that wasn't standing for John O'Keefe. They were standing for the woman that was being tried, which we believed she did not do this crime. So many of us, 85% of us in America, were being vocal about freedom for Karen Read, but John O'Keefe was never forgotten. He was always in the foreground with her, wanting justice for him. If you convict the wrong person for a crime, you cannot get justice for the loved one. that has passed for that family. So that was a real battle and a struggle for 2 trials, and a lot of shenanigans going on in the background and behind the scenes. But Karen is now free to live her life. She does have to go through a little bit more yet. Civil trial is coming up, civil case. So that is coming. And then hopefully she can go forward, and I hope she's able to spend time now grieving and not being as stressed out, because she really never got a chance to grieve the death of John O'Keefe. They arrested her without a proper investigation just 2 days after he passed. And it's been nothing but go, 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 go for that young woman ever since. So we wish her the best. We hope she's doing well. But now all of us that are looking to stand and advocate for victims of homicide, now we need to move on to phase 2, justice for John O'Keefe. Who killed John O'Keefe? Who was driving the Ford Edge? We know there's a Ford Edge there because we believe Lucky. So we have a lot of things to go over tonight, a lot of other things going on in Massachusetts that Julie wants to talk about tonight. She is our resident Bostonian, so I defer to her for all things Massachusetts. I keep up with it, but I like to let her take the lead because this is her home state. And if this was happening in one of my home states, Florida, Wisconsin, I would feel the same way. I would be outraged more than I am because Massachusetts isn't my home state. I care for y'all. I'm upset for y'all. I wish none of this was happening to all of you in your state. And especially I wish John O'Keefe was alive. I wish Sandra Birchmore was alive. I wish Enrique Delgado was alive. I wish Justin Root was alive. And I wish Ana Walshe was alive. You guys have had a lot going on in your state in the last 3 to 4 to 5 years, more than any other state as far as I've seen with these just horrific cases. So let me welcome you again to Social Change Warriors. We are, as you know, an advocacy channel, and we advocate for victims of homicides who are not getting justice. And we reach out to their families. We get permission whenever we can. Most of the victims we've been advocating for since last August, we have been in touch with their families. We have permission to advocate for them until they ask us not to. Now, there's times when the family has to go into some type of litigation. So then we cannot live stream anymore because the lawyers don't want that. So we just do whatever the family asks. If they asked us to keep advocating, we will, and we'll keep telling you about this plight of this family and the injustice done to their loved one. When we have to back off because of issues with legalities, then we do that too. But they'll always be in our hearts, and they'll always be part of our theme when we honor our victims and we show you the slides of our victims that we've advocated for the last almost a year. It's coming up on our year anniversary. We'll always include them, even once their case is solved or they get justice. They'll always be part of our Social Change Warriors family. So as you all know, we've been standing for justice for Karen, justice for John O'Keefe, for the past 2 years, live streaming for the past year. Now we're moving on to phase 2. Karen is free, and it's time for justice for John O'Keefe. On Wednesdays, not every Wednesday, but occasional Wednesdays, I like to have my episodes called the Angry Bitch Club, and that's where women and men can come as well, but primarily women. We talk about our bitches. We talk about things that are really upsetting us in the true crime world. We can also talk about anything you'd like to talk about, whatever topic you're interested in, we can talk about on Wednesday nights. So that is our Bees Are Gonna Buzz night. Hope you can join us sometimes on Wednesdays, where we just talk, we vent, we share ideas, theories, whatever comes to mind. And any of you are always welcome on the platform on Wednesday nights. Thursdays is our work night, where I try to work with the families in going over their police reports. Sadly, the autopsy reports, it's a trigger warning night. So if that's something that isn't for you, I completely understand. Thursdays for me is a chance to work with the families, put it on a live stream so we can get attention and advocacy for their families. And then I can go back when I need to recall as I work on their case and build their advocacy program for them, and go forward to try to get more attention from the police, and however that looks. So hope you can join us sometimes as well on our Thursday nights, calling out corruption. And then, as you know, Fridays is our night for trials and everything going on to do with the trials that we're following, things in the background, things on social media. And now we're, heavily still focusing in on justice for John O'Keefe and what's going on with the fallout from Karen being acquitted, and the civil case coming up, and all of the other bizarre things that are going on in the background, especially in the last 2 weeks. This case just never ceases to amaze me, what can keep coming up and what keeps happening with different law tubers and live streamers and the background noise. And it's a lot. It's a lot for us to break down every Friday night, but that's what we're going to do. Now, this has been a really heartbreaking couple 2 weeks. I'm going to bring Julie up to the platform so I can get her thoughts on, before we get into our topics for tonight. I would be remiss if we didn't talk about the other heartbreaking issues that are going on in our country right now. And in my opinion, these type of homicides can be prevented when they are involving this type of a homicide with the teacher and the homicide of these 4 young people, even though one of them was a grandma. She was only a 38-year-old grandma. And these are preventable tragedies, preventable homicides. And we can bitch about them all day long on Wednesday nights, but we have to figure this out. We have to figure out, how do we prevent these things from happening? What are we missing? What are we not doing right? So let's welcome Julie up to the stage again. Hi, Julie. Welcome.
Hey. Oh, there I am.
Hi,
hey, everybody. Happy Fridays. Everything's awesome. No problems here, anywhere.
What are you having there, Jules? What do you got there for your libation? What are we wearing?
Everything is fine.
What does it say? Everything is fine.
Everything is A-okay.
Oh my gosh. I know that you're being very, very funny right now.
On top of meltdowns, who's following the story and who takes a drastic left turn, who's following the story further and takes a drastic right turn. Jesus Christ.
Okay, I need that t-shirt, Julie. I need that t-shirt. So I'm wearing my new hat. You guys know I am your hat girl. I love wearing my different hats. Pink, purple, blue, Badgers, Packers, Chiefs, USC, of course. And then I have my Florida Badger hat. Yeah, my Florida Badger hat, which is I wear with my swimsuits, which is
I told you I would support you 100. Sorry about that.
No, you're good. But this is my new one. So my new one is from Myrtle Beach. Even though I didn't vacation there, I traveled through there in the heat wave and I had to take a break for a little while. So I was able to find this really cool hat, which I really like, with the palm tree on the front. And I will have to hop up there one of these days. It's not very far from my house here, but it's very touristy for me. I kind of like my quieter beach here. I know you guys think Daytona Beach not quiet, but it is quiet a lot of times during the year when school's in session, and it's actually quiet a lot of the time. And then Ormond Beach for me is very quiet a lot of the time. So, but I will have to check out Myrtle Beach since I now have a hat from Myrtle Beach. But anyway, so welcome back, everybody who joins us on Friday Night Lives. Welcome to all of our new people who have never joined us. You're checking us out for the first time. You're always welcome. Please subscribe to us if you like us, but take your time. There's no rush. Check us out for a while. See what you think of us. Give us a like if you like our content, because it helps the algorithm. We are not monetized, but we ask you for this for our victims, for all the victims that if you watch the beginning of the live tonight, I show you all of the victims of homicides that have no justice that we are personally advocating for right now. We are in touch with their families or a loved one in their family, and we are advocating for them. So it helps us to put those faces out into the algorithm of YouTube community to help more people know about their plight. I'm always amazed at how many people say to me, even here in Florida, I've never heard of Sarah Ebersol. She's been missing 2.5 years. How does nobody in Florida know about this girl and what happened to her, this mother, and why doesn't not enough people know? That's bothersome to me. And so, like I always say that unless your homicide victim catches the media's eye, your case isn't sexy enough, then nobody finds out about you and no one knows you ever existed or that you were hurt and that your case is unsolved. So we are a grassroots advocacy channel, and we're just here primarily to help people who never make it into the mainstream media, who don't get the attention they deserve, and to help their families the best we can to maybe get them to a higher level, to get them to a bigger step up. Way up higher than us, where they could get more national attention. And thankfully to Michelle, Sarah's sister, and many of Sarah's soldiers, and I'm one of them, and we wrote emails to Nancy Grace, and we wrote Facebook posts to Nancy Grace, and I tweeted with Nancy Grace, whoever that is on Twitter. I think sometimes it is her and sometimes it might be an assistant, but I just kept tweeting Sarah Ebersol, and all of Michelle just kept on it, and all of her Sarah's soldiers in the Ocala area, Marin County. And by gosh, Nancy Grace, thank you. thank you so much for airing Where is Sarah Ebersol? And a couple of weeks ago, I was in Wisconsin. I didn't get to watch it live, but thank goodness that this young mother now finally has some attention. But as I was saying Wednesday night, when we did a re-air of Sarah Ebersol's case, and I spoke with one of Sarah's soldiers, Karen, that's not it. Just because your person makes it on Nancy Grace or Dateline or all the other shows, you have to keep it up in your community, because ultimately your community is going to care more. Like I was saying, Julie cares more than I do about what happens in Massachusetts. I can care, but I can't care about what happens in every state. It's impossible. We don't have enough in us for that. But we can advocate and we can care, but not on the same level as you care when it's your home state. So Floridians, I need you to care about Sarah Ebersol. She's been missing for 2.5 years. Please check out our live tab. Go watch my episodes on Sarah Ebersol. Do what you can do to help advocate for her. And same with the other Floridians that we've been advocating for. Check out our live. Check out the episodes on the other Floridians, Jason Veach, Deshaun Hudson, and now Hunter Gutierrez is missing. We're advocating for him, for his safe return with his family. So we have 4 or 5 now. Cody, we have several that we're advocating for right here in Florida, as well as Massachusetts with Julie, and some of our other victims most of our victims are just spread all over the country. So thank you for advocating with us. Thank you for caring about other people in your community and in the rest of America. So Julie, we're back again on Friday Night Lies, and there's almost too much content for tonight.
There's a whole shitload of stuff going on in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and that's, I mean, we already had kind of a jam-packed show, like I said, last Friday, and then Sunday, that we had like 2 weeks worth of content, just based off of like the stuff that was happening. And then it seemed like the floodgates of the last like 24 hours just opened with the stuff that Cosgrove put out, with the stuff that came out through Karen's attorneys, where people are questioning, like, hey, what the hell's going on here? And then the epic meltdowns that everybody's having online, like I don't want to be cliche and say, like, go outside, go touch grass, but like, seriously, go outside, like, everybody collectively, ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Calm down and count to 10, for Christ's sakes. Like meltdown on top of meltdown on top of meltdown. I'm all fired up because I was watching what's his face, like, have an epic meltdown where he just doesn't, and like made it worse. Like, don't do what some of these people are doing. Like, if you break the rules or don't know how to follow the rules, don't go on a live stream for 2 hours and scream and yell and rant and rave where like you're like people, like, this is why we can't have nice things in certain places. So we're gonna cover all this stuff.
I want to do a tech check with you again. I'm not sure why, but we're getting that echoey thing. So I don't know if it's that mic.
It's not working. God damn it.
I'm getting you a new mic. That's my first process. I'm going to get you.
Wait, hang on. Wait a second.
Because it just makes you sound very echoey and tinny, and I want to be able to hear you.
I know. I thought it was the whatchamacallit.
Sometimes the external mics, they're just not that good and they don't work. I mean, that's why they sell us $200, $300 mics, because the lesser ones just don't always work so great. Hi, MCAT. Welcome back, MCAT. Hello, Paula. Welcome back, Paula. Welcome back, everyone who's here with us. Always feel free, if you want to say hi in our friend zone, you're welcome. If you have comments, if you don't, if you're just here to listen and absorb, then yay, we're happy to have you. Great to have you always. So let me try, do a little testing there, Julie.
Am I good? Test.
That's
1,
better.
2, 3.
Yeah.
Should I count to 10 again?
No, you're good.
Some people might need it.
But I needed to count to 10 this week. And so without saying too much, I'll only say a little. Social media can be evil. Okay. Yep. And I think all of us know this. Most of you here, when I look at my demographics, we are mostly women that come to our channel. We're mostly women in our 40s and 50s and 60s and 70s. We've all been around the block. We've been around, and we were here before social media. Julie, you're old enough. I'm old enough to be your mother. So you haven't, you didn't really didn't have much of a life with social media, but you did have some, thankfully. And I'm grateful for that for you. I'm grateful for my sons that they had some life without social media. But now the current, situation is Facebook became popular in roughly 2007. I didn't join Facebook till 2008. Twitter didn't really become popular until roughly 2010, 2009, somewhere in there. And I didn't join Twitter until 2011 or 12, I think. So we have to be very careful with social media. Obviously, so much that's on there has not been proven, has not been fact checked. We don't know if it's real or not. And people just click those buttons, share, like. It's like, no, please don't do that. We have to be smarter and wiser about our social media consumption. We really do. And I get it, because at my stage of life, being retired now, and my family is, with the exception, my oldest son is in Wisconsin. All my old friends are in Wisconsin. Some of them live all over the country. I get a little lonely down here sometimes when I'm in Florida. And I will sit there and I'll just kind of binge on Twitter X or Facebook, or I have Instagram now. I'll go on there and look at people's pictures and stuff. But you've got to be very careful how much of it you do in a day. You have to be very careful what you believe, because unless it's a friend who you totally trust and they've said, I've vetted this, or you're looking at pictures of their birthday party, or you're just consuming happiness from happiness websites where they just burst happiness at you, that's okay. But when you're following these cases, that true crime cases, and when you're following hearings of other people who you don't know, who aren't your friends or family, you just can't believe everything you hear right on the fly. And especially when people are defaming one another, when they're using social media to defame someone. Never believe something out of the gate. And if it's not your business, then don't make it your business. If you're not involved in this feud that someone's having, if it's not your place, don't become, a nosy nilly and get yourself in there and then start making comments, because they will come for you. And that's sort of what happened to me last year in the winter time. I wasn't really being nosy. I was kind of defending others that I felt were being targeted and harassed, because I tend to be a defender, and that's obvious. I mean, I did this when I was very young. I defended kids who were bullied on the playground when I was very young. It just kind of came in my nature. But I also needed to learn when to shut up and when to mind my own business too, because I can get myself in trouble when I'm being too much of the hero that wants to come rushing in and save the day. And then I can get myself in problems with people that are just not good humans. They're just nasty. They want to turn things that are small into things that are big. They only tell you half truths. They lie. I mean, this is what's going on. And so we all have to be so careful. And now there's a whole hit campaign out there again going on with various members that are all on the Free Karen Read side. And then that gets the anti-Karen Read side that's active on Twitter, X, and Facebook all jazzed up, because they just love to see all of us that agreed on something. We all agreed on what was going on with the trial. We all agreed that Karen Read should be freed. And they just love to see that. They just love to see all this infighting amongst, supporters of Free Karen Read who have stayed active on Twitter and Facebook. So you just have to be so careful. And if you read anything about me or about another live streamer or about someone who's been very vocal on Twitter, X, or Facebook, supporting Karen Read, supporting John O'Keefe, just ask us. Don't just like it if someone else is saying something or if someone else is defaming one of us. Ask us if you're interested. And if you're not, good, move along, because we don't want to drag you into it. I don't want you to be dragged into some of this nonsense that's going on Facebook and Twitter X. I would rather you stay above it. I don't want to be in it at all. But now my name's been put back out there again by this person who likes to defame people from something that happened last year. And I'm not happy about it. And I have made no comments. I've done nothing, because I don't want to be in it again, because these people need to stop. As Turtle Boy, it's one thing I like when he says, stop it. I like it when he does that, because I want to say that sometimes to people, just stop it. You're supposed to be here advocating for victims of homicide. You're supposed to be on Twitter and X and Facebook to connect with friends and family. And if you're into true crime, you're here to support the person who died and their families, or you're here to support the person wrongfully accused. So don't get into all this other stuff if you don't have to, because it's really not worth your time. And I wouldn't have been in it if I hadn't been brought into it, if I hadn't been accused of something I didn't do. Because if the one thing that's going to get all the red, what's left of my orange hair up on my neck and back is being accused of something I didn't do. If you're going to come on your live stream and you're going to accuse me of doing something that I know damn well I didn't do, then okay, then all cards are on the deck and I'm going to defend myself. And people will say to me, don't waste your time. Don't go against the trolls. Don't go against the bullies. Well, that's easier said than done. When it's your good name that's being defamed, when you're the one who they've got your name flapping out of their mouth and they're accusing you of doing something you didn't do or say, then that's not right. And I don't stand for that. And then when other people were getting accused of things they didn't do, then I jumped in even more, which that was a miserable January and February for me. And I am not going back there unless I absolutely have to. So for any of you that are watching that know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. For those of you that don't, yay, good. I don't want you to know. I don't want to bring you into it. It's not worth your time. It has nothing to do with justice for John O'Keefe or justice for Sandra Birchmore or Ana Walshe or Enrique Delgado or Just en Route or any of the other victims we're standing for. And that's why we're here. We're here to advocate for victims of homicide who are getting no justice and to call out the crime and corruption that's involved in them getting no justice, because that's why they're not getting justice, because there's some type of malfeasance going on. It's either poor police work or it's criminal or it's crappy, just good old boys club not doing their job, right? Or in some cases, it's downright corruption. And Ed Byers, our friend in Indiana, I think he's running for sheriff. So I'm going to find out, because he's the one who called out all that nasty crime and corruption in Indiana and Massachusetts, folks. It took years. So don't give up hope. Keep the good fight going, because I'm going to get in touch with Ed this week and bring him on the show if he is truly running for sheriff, because that would be awesome. And they would be so happy to get him there in Indiana, in Clark County, or whatever county I think it's Clark County. But I saw a hashtag the other day, Ed Byers for sheriff. So I don't know if that's just people wanting him to run, but Ed worked tirelessly, just like many of those in Massachusetts have been doing, to call out crime and corruption and nastiness that's going on in your government. And Julie is our dear friend who lives in Boston, and many of you that come to Friday Night Lives are from Massachusetts, and we just want to help you. We want to do our best to help you, and we want to stay above the fray of all the crazy nastiness that is going on social media. So if by any reason you see social change warriors coming out of the mouths of certain content creators, please let me know. I would like to know, not because I'm going to retaliate, because I'm not. I don't want to waste my time, but I would like you to know why I got involved in all that nonsense in the first place, because I care about you and I care about all of our subscribers and I care about what's going on in the state of Massachusetts. And I'm here for you to support all of you in your fight to get your state back under control, just like I'm for Ed and I'm for Floridians to get control of several of our counties where there appears to be a lot of corruption going on, and it's just not right. And so as community members, Julie, we have to band together and we have to call out corruption, and we have to try to stand together to get these people unelected or decommissioned or delicensed or whatever we need to do.
Yes. Can you no, wait, oh, sorry. Hang on one second. Can you share my screen?
Yeah.
Okay.
For sure.
All right. So while you do that, I'm going to say this. So I mean, it comes out from time to time that, sometimes, like I tend to not run emotional, but I mean, like if I'm passionate about something, I'm passionate about something. If I'm, invested, I'll,
You're a wise owl, Julie. You're a wise owl. Like
I'm a wise owl. Okay, I'm a wise owl. But so like you can tell, like if something bothers me, it's going to bother me. But a long time ago, somebody once said to me, consider the source. Just like with anything else that you get out there, consider the source. Consider who is giving you the information. Consider the quality of the material that you're getting, to say, all right, is this, like somebody saying that, oh, this is the finest silk of the world. It turns out it's, piece of shit polyester from, whatever the case may be, or whatever it is. So consider the source of where things are coming from. Now, again, we in this country, we have First Amendment rights where you can no. I mean, you can't go around and say, I can do whatever I want. It's the First Amendment. Nah. No, that's not how it works. And people are going to learn the hard way, unfortunately, that's not how it works. The stuff has been tried, tested. But you can basically say, whatever you want. And people will say, we'll consider the source. Would you, if a pile of garbage said, you're a bad person, and you go, well, what the fuck do I care? You're a pile of garbage.
Exactly.
I'm going to give that any oxygen? No. So we'll just leave it at that. But
I love it. I love your analogy. And so I want to, when Sean,
no oxygen, look at where it's coming from. And, exactly. like you don't want the worst for people, but like you hope that people get help or whatever.
Of course.
But,
so Shauna had some really wise words for me the other day when I found out that this anonymous account was yakking about several of us again who do nothing on Twitter, X, and Facebook but promote activism and promote advocacy. And so this anonymous account who's too afraid to show her face and her real name is trying to defame a bunch of us again. And so Shauna and you have given me so many great quotes. So when Shauna joins us a little bit later tonight, I want to get her permission to read something she wrote to me that I thought was very interesting. And I think all of you could take this to heart. Shauna is a wise lady from New York City, and we love her. So, and as you all know, she's been following this case right along with us this whole time. So again, welcome everybody. And what we're going to get into tonight is a little bit of Sandra Birchmore, Matthew Farwell, a little bit of Ana Walshe, Brian Walshe, a little bit of the upcoming hearing that Aiden's about to go through, a little bit of what happened today with Lindsay, because even though that case per se doesn't have anything to do with Karen Read, it was in the background of Karen Read this whole time, very loudly in the background of Karen Read. And then, of course, Proctor has to come on the stand. And now apparently, Julie, we'll get to this in a minute, I'm sure, he has filed a motion trying to limit what can be asked him, trying to make it very, very narrow. So that's going to be interesting. So we have a lot to talk about tonight. I want to talk a little bit about the travesties that happened this week. We had we've had issues with more airplanes. We've had this horrible murder of this young couple, this teacher that should have, in my opinion, should have been red flagged a couple years ago already. I don't know how they missed it. And then this quadruple homicide, family squabble, domestic homicide is what they're looking at of this family and this baby left in the yard. I mean, just so many horrible things going on. And then Amy Bradley, who we talked about last week, is still out there in the limelight now. Again, her case is being re-talked about by many, many law tubers and live streamers and people. They're starting some type of a group you can join to actually maybe go out and look for her. Like if you're on vacation in that area. I mean, it's really quite something. I've never quite seen anything like this with a cold case suddenly becoming alive like this, but there wasn't social media when Amy Bradley went missing. So this could be very, very helpful if she truly is still alive. And then, of course, there's all the stuff going on with the Epstein files and with, I don't know if you know, but Maxwell was moved from a Florida federal prison to a Texas federal prison with a little overnight stay in Louisiana. So now there's all kinds of craziness going on online about that. Like, why are they moving her now when she just had this 8-hour interview, and on and on and on. So there's so many things we could talk about that are in the news right now, that tragedies that are happening to our fellow Americans. It's just mind boggling. So let me bring up to the stage what you have for us here. I'm gonna have to remove what I have now, so stand by. All right, okay.
Let me bring this up to the top. Okay, so just to remind everybody, because I mean, again, it seems like people are losing their minds, and for God knows whatever reason, social media or whatever, Twitter, twatter, is gone crazy. Just to remind everybody, not 2 weeks ago, this press release came from the Department of Justice in Massachusetts, U.S. Attorney's Office, District of Massachusetts, that said that a grand juror is being charged and should be charged with a lot more, but it looks like she's going to get a lot less. And I thought it was in this press release, but I know it's somewhere because we watched Emily say it, and we watched all those guys say that they are monitoring social media accounts, which means the Department of Justice and the FBI. And it says, oh, wait, what's the guy's name? I know Ann Peruti. I know her. And where is it? FBI Boston. Teddy Ducks, that's who it is, special agent in charge. That's who's doing this. It's Leah Foley, who's the district, who's the U.S. attorney for First District, Massachusetts. So Massachusetts. Teddy Ducks, the special agent in charge of FBI Boston, and Ann Peruti is the chief of the Major Crimes Unit, who is prosecuting this case that is quote unquote a nothing burger. But their eyes are out here, and they've been out here for some time. So I guess a consolation is that anybody who's doing really, really, really not so nice things on the internet, at least the feds are watching. I mean, it's good to get eyes on it, but
right.
To remind everybody out there, they can see you. They've seen you for some time, but they're definitely watching now. So
yeah.
So yeah. And if a pile of garbage calls you a bad person, it's a pile of garbage. So
exactly.
That's my
Exactly. Thank you. So where would you like to start tonight? Where do we begin, right?
Do you want to talk about the Sandra Birchmore stuff, and then we'll go into the Brian Walshe stuff?
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Okay. Let me go again. I just wanted to say again, if you're interested in Amy Bradley, there's a lot of stuff out there about what happened to her going missing from that cruise ship all those years ago. So there's just so much. Make sure you check it out. You just never know if you're in that area, if you're cruising, if you're on vacation in the Caribbean. I mean, it would be a miracle, I believe, if they found her, but you just don't know. There's always that hope that when someone's missing that they might show up and be found. I mean, it would be something, wouldn't it? Alrighty. So regarding Sandra Birchmore, as most of you know who follow our channel, Sandra was unalived, and it was ruled immediately, very quickly, by the Canton Police Department a unaliving of herself, and it was very unsettling for her family because there were no signs of that. And what I got really upset about when I first learned of this case, when it originally happened, which was a miracle because it really didn't get any coverage. But there was some, and I looked into it from what we could garner from the news, that I'm like, wait a minute, this doesn't make any sense. And then once they started, with once John O'Keefe passed away, and then more attention was brought to Canton and those officers, and then Mizzy and the cousin of Sandra Birchmore got involved in standouts and started throwing attention and light on it, then we were able to find out more information. There was signs that she was by no means going to unalive herself. I mean, she's seen on the surveillance camera going out and scraping her car off, removing snow from her car. She was doing laundry. She was preparing to have a baby shower. She found out that she was going to have a baby, so there was preparations for that. She had ordered, for lack of a better word, equipment for the baby, like a stroller or a playpen or something of that sort. So I think she'd even ordered food or had there were no signs. And anyone who knows anything about people that are in that depressive state, that's just not, you don't just go boom and say, I'm going to unalive myself right now. That has to be planned out, because the ways that you have to figure it out how you're going to unalive yourself, that requires some research, that requires some pre-planning. So, I mean, unless you own a GUN and you just have a very epically bad meltdown and you decide to, take yourself out of the world, then that could be more of something you might do just right on the spur of the moment. But the way that it was set up for her to look like she unalived herself, by trigger alert for everyone, by hanging herself on the doorknob like that would have taken research on her part, preparation, and the way the case was handled is despicable. And it should have been given a full, thorough investigation before they decided if it was an unaliving or if indeed someone unalived her by homicide. So a lot of time went by where her case was ruled an unaliving, and her family was fighting against it. They were able to get a medical examiner to look into her case and tell the family that they did not believe that this was an unaliving, that there was, and I'm sorry guys, because I can't remember the actual medical term, but there's something to do with the throat that
the hyoid bone.
Yes, thank you. that was injured, which could not have happened if she unalived herself. So then the second ME that took a look at the case with the family hired, and then via standouts and all the advocacy that Mizzy and her cousin and their family members and other Stoughton and Canton residents and other residents in Massachusetts getting behind this, that all along, what no one knew was that the FBI was looking into this behind the scenes, and what triggered them to be concerned about it. I don't know that we don't know that yet, because Matthew Farwell was arrested, and he has yet to have a hearing. He was arrested last August, I believe it was August 24th of 2024, and he has yet to have a hearing. It's been every time he's been set for a status hearing or a conference hearing, they push. And now the one, we were supposed to have one in August. I think it was going to be August 12th, Julie? Was
August
that
4th.
August 4th?
Yep.
So now that just, Mizzy just put out for all of us on her Twitter X that now that has been pushed to October. And now apparently there's going to be 2 hearings in October.
Yep.
Sort of back to back within a few days of each other. But this has, the advocates for Sandra Birchmore up in arms, because, I mean, what is going on behind the scenes? And we're just not privy to know. Now, Mizzy, I wrote on her Facebook post, a lot of people were upset. So I wrote on there, what is happening? Why is this? What is the stall? What could be causing this? And do we know? Because I hadn't heard. Well, somehow Mizzy heard, and I Googled it. I couldn't find it. So I'm not sure how Mizzy found out, but she told me that the defense doesn't have their discovery ready. What? How does the defense not? What is going on? It's been a year. So how is that not, like, shouldn't they be reprimanded for that? And I'm not a lawyer, so I'm a retired cop and a social worker. I don't know. I wish we could get a lawyer on here with us tonight and help me out. Did Melanie Little have any type of an episode on this that we could take a peek at?
For this stuff? No, she just mentioned that it was pushed, and she kind of said the same thing. So yes. So we were kind of talking, and I mean, for the last month and a half, I don't think 2 months, but definitely for the last month and a half, I know that there have been a lot of people, including Mizzy, went up with resisting the silence and said, well, we can't talk about some stuff, but it looks like, stuff is going to come out. And then the feds came out with this grand jury stuff, and there are people, and then the Norfolk County's detective unit at the Mass State Police Division gets shuffled around, and who has hearings, and this and that came out. And so they're basically saying something is happening. Oh, and then the information dropped that's saying that Matthew Farwell's DNA doesn't match. And so they're not sure, who the father is, but it's not this guy. So
yeah, that came out before, in between the last push. That came out.
Well, yeah, so that's just it. So I was all this stuff came out. So they're basically saying okay, well, something's happening, because I mean, they're saying that since this guy was arrested in August of 2024, I think it was August 22nd or something like that. So just about a year.
Yeah, 22nd.
And he has not been in front of a judge since he, was arraigned or whatever it was, brought in. I think he said he's in Rhode Island. So he hasn't been brought in front of a judge. Now, you would think that under normal circumstances, if the defense kept dragging their feet, the judge would say, all right, enough. You come in here and you sit your ass down and you say in open court what the problem is, why you can't come here, why you can't even come to court. But they haven't done that. Why? Well, there's speculation that maybe he's singing and stuff can't come out because of what the feds, this is speculation a little bit, but it can't come out that what the feds are doing because of what the feds are doing with, the grand jury, with the Karen Reed stuff, the Birchmore stuff, the this, the that. So they don't know who is doing what. So August 4th is going to be another interesting day, because that's when the grand juror is set to actually plead guilty and accept her. And we'll see if the federal judge accepts the basically the cupcake deal that she got. First to squeal gets the deal. Well, it looks like that's going to her. So it's going to be an interesting day on the 4th and so on. I mean, stuff's already coming out and getting crazy. So I think that's the reason why they haven't made a big stink federally with this case, saying, hey, what the hell is going on? So that's speculation. None of that's written down, but you'd look and you'd say hey, you would think that somebody would be dragged in front of the court, but they're just okay, we're going to delay. So
right. Well, let's go back in time here for a minute and let's take a peek at what exactly happened the day that they arrested him. Let me share my screen with you guys. Stand by. Let me remove this for a second.
I know Mizzy was on with Sean, because Sean went live, saying like, "Oh, they got him," and like Mizzy popped on for like 10 minutes to talk about like, yeah, they got him here, and talked about like what they were doing. They got him in Revere.
Let me make this a little bigger for you guys. So what I find interesting is that in many cases when they arrest people, that it ends up being filmed with body cameras of the officers, right? Yep. And you end up seeing at some point where that never happened with Matthew Farwell. There was never the only video coverage of him was done by a civilian. And then this was given to the media. So let me try to get this in a better spot here where you can see it. Can you see that now?
Mm-hmm. Yep,
it's going to be a little
hazy because it's grainy, but yeah, that's the way it was originally.
Grainy, but this person was far away. So let me play what we've got here. So this is the arrest. There's no audio because this person is a civilian filming this. So that's Matthew Farwell in the middle with the jeans and the dark T-shirt on. Now let me see if I can get murder. Here we go.
And he almost did.
Let me back that up. Let me go back again.
A bombshell in the years-long investigation into what happened to Sandra Birchmore. This is video of former Stoughton police officer Matthew Farwell being arrested this morning in Revere by FBI SWAT officers.
He allegedly attempted to cover his tracks to literally try and get away with murder. And he almost did until today.
According to the 45-page federal indictment unsealed today, Farwell allegedly killed Birchmore by strangulation on February 1st, 2021. Her death originally ruled as suicide by the state medical examiner. This indictment painting a graphic picture of the relationship between the two, who, according to court paperwork, met when Birchmore joined the Stoughton Police Department's Explorers program. The indictment going on to say that Farwell groomed Birchmore and started allegedly sexually abusing her when she was 15 years old.
Our investigation also uncovered additional evidence that is inconsistent with someone choosing to die by suicide. In the hours leading up to Sandra's death, she reached out to a photographer to inquire about booking a newborn photo shoot. She also reached out to a friend about obtaining baby clothes.
As for what took so long, considering Birchmore was found dead in February 2021, the acting U.S. attorney saying federal investigators started looking into Birchmore's death about a year ago, uncovering critical new evidence and re-examining old evidence.
Let me be clear. Matthew Farwell's gun and badge did not grant him authority to violate the Constitution. And it certainly didn't entitle him to sexually exploit, abuse, and rape a child before killing her and her unborn baby in an attempt to cover up his alleged crimes.
So every time I watch this, anytime I look at it or watch anything, I get like a stomach ache because this should have never happened. Someone should have saved Sandra at some point in time in that long ass haul. Sorry to swear, YouTube, of the time that he was grooming her from the time she was 13 all the way until she passed away. It's so beyond egregious. I mean, so many bad things happen. I mean, there's so many people that lose their lives in our country. We just saw it happen. We just saw a mom and a dad get stabbed to death on a trail trying to have a nature walk with their children. 4 people from the same family were unalived and found in a car, and the baby was dumped on someone's front yard 20 miles away. I mean, the things that go on in our country make you feel ill. And that's why so many people, guys, they choose not to follow true crime because they can't hack it. It's a lot of us have very sensitive constitutions, and we just can't hack hearing about these egregious things that go on. We just have to be able to be in our families and our communities, do the best we can to work and live and have hobbies and hopefully volunteer in our communities in positive ways. But a lot of people just can't be surrounded by this kind of egregious, just horrifying behavior. And I understand that. That's why I totally respect all of you so much that you're willing to follow these true crime cases and advocate for victims of homicide and of egregious acts, because it's really not for everyone. And it's very difficult. what makes it even just so much worse, right, is because it's a police officer. It's aggravated. It aggravates it up so many levels because we're supposed to trust police officers. I trusted them when I was a kid. I wanted to be a police officer when I was a kid. I went on ride-alongs. I was a crossing guard. I looked up to every cop, every police officer I ever met, I ever knew. And I just, in my heart of hearts, I never believed it was possible for a police woman or a policeman to be a bad person. But then you grow up and you go through hard times and you realize that there are bad humans everywhere. There's bad humans in teaching, policing, fire, CEOs, CFOs, the guy at the grocery store who runs the grocery stores, your mailman. I mean, it goes on and on and on and on. There are bad people amongst us, and that's just human nature. It goes on as long as the dawn of time, and all you can do is rely on your gut feeling. You have this thing in you that warns you when something's not right, that tells you that something's not right. But unfortunately, we like to ignore it. We like to ignore it in our own dating life. We like to ignore it with our friends. We ignore it with people that we trust. And Julie, I mean, this is a thing. We have to be better about listening to our gut feeling, and we have to be better about see something, say something. The whole I don't want to get involved thing has got to go, because in all of these situations that we're talking about, all these unalivings that we're standing for since last year when we started live streaming, and the current ones that have happened in the last couple of weeks, people saw something. They saw something and their gut said, I don't like that. That's not right. There's something about that guy. It's making me get shivers. It's making the hair stand up on the back of my neck. But oh crap, I got to go home. I got to make dinner. I got to volunteer tonight. I'm a soccer coach. I understand all that. And you're not wrong. You're not wrong for that. But we have to have some of us just have to be willing to see something, say something. And if that were the case, Sandra Birchmore would be alive today. Her baby would be alive today. And what she went through was horrific. Her childhood was robbed by this very sick, mentally sick individual who was born evil. I mean, what else can we say, right? There's so many good people that have mental illnesses. So I don't ever like to use that as a cliche. He had mental illness. No, these people are evil. They don't have mental illness. They're fucking evil. Sorry, YouTube. They're just evil. And we have to see them. We have to figure it out. We have to try to figure it out before they unalive someone we love and care about. Or someone that's in our community, like Sandra Birchmore. She was in your community, Canton. She lived there. She worked in Stoughton. She had friends and family, and all the while, this evil man. And I think, let me go back here for a minute. I believe that his twin brother knew. So William Farwell, wherever you freaking are in this country right now, hiding in your little rat's hole, I know you knew. I'm an ex-cop. I'm a retired cop. I know you knew. This was your twin freaking brother. And Robert Devine, I know you knew. I didn't make this meme, by the way. I got this from Mizzy's group. So thank you, whoever made this meme, Mizzy or Mizzy's group, the cousin of Sandra Birchmore. These 4 men need to be in prison because I believe in my heart of hearts that they all knew. Now, Joshua Heel, I don't know why he was redacted out of a lot of stuff, Julie. He was redacted out of a lot of stuff. Have you heard much about that?
No, the only thing I know about him, he's the school resource officer in Abington who was the former Stoughton animal officer who I guess and like the way that Mizzy explains it is that he was quote unquote Sandra's confidant, but allegedly he did stuff too. Oh, Turd's here.
Hi, Melissa. I just wanted to say hi to her.
Quick, one little interruption. I'm sorry. I have a one-track mind, and I was thinking about this because I said something to Turd. There's all the crap that's going on online, and Turd has been in it. And she posted something, the response, and it's not a quote, like she meant something else. But I read it and was like, oh, that's from the astronaut poet Katy Perry in her song Swish Swish Bish, which is very, very, very appropriate. But Turd was being philosophical and like, oh, that's like the old adage. And I was like, yes, just like the astronaut Katy Perry herself said in her opus.
Well, so, we love you, Melissa.
But that goes along with the if a pile of trash tells you that you're a bad person, it's a pile of trash. Who gives a shit? That's basically the same thing. So the quote was, she said, oh, but then I'm reminded a tiger doesn't lose any sleep over what a sheep thinks of it or the opinions of a sheep. And that's kind of how the song goes. It says, "Don't you come for me, no, not today." And then she goes on with her astronaut self. Anyways, I just wanted to do that. Thank you for stopping by, Turd.
Oh, thank you for stopping by, Melissa. We love you too. And you're so wise. I love your posts. I've been following you for, gosh, over a year now, I think. And I really appreciate knowing you. I appreciate knowing everyone good and wonderful that I have met when I started live streaming. I jumped into this, guys, with no experience. I mean, I have experience as a public speaker and I have experience as a pre-recorded speaker, but I had never live streamed, and I jumped into this with both my feet, with my water boots on in case the water level got high, because I really had no idea what to expect, and it's been a learning experience. It still is. It will be a learning experience, I'm sure, as I continue in this journey. And now we have Julie with us, thank God, on Friday night. So
I'm doing great.
I myself. I'm so happy to have you with me on Friday nights. It's just great to have a partner in crime, a partner in non-crime, a partner in non-crime. Yes, a partner in calling out crime.
Me and John Barron. Oh, not John Barron. I mean the blog.
Right. Because it can get very overwhelming covering true crime and standing for victims and their families. On Wednesdays and Thursdays, I have the families. They live stream with me a lot, and I'm with them, so I don't feel as alone. But Friday Night Lives was kind of tough when I had to go it alone for a while. And then I said to Julie, I said, "What are you doing next Friday?" This was like back in February, I think, right, Julie? We'll have to look back when you first came on.
Yeah, I think so. It was either February or March. I know.
February or March. Yeah. I'm like, "What are you doing?"
I know Friday?
You want to come on? And then you were doing all your really awesome experiments. And that's how, we got going together on Friday night. And I'm really grateful for you and grateful for all of the amazing people I've met through the Free Karen Read movement. I'm not grateful for the trolls that I've met. I'm not grateful for you guys. I'm sorry to tell you. I wish you'd just take your little selves off and go just do what you do your thing, leave the rest
of us alone. Trash. Go be piles of trash.
Go away and just do whatever you do and leave the rest of us alone, because we're just trying to do good here in this world. We're just trying to advocate for victims of homicide, and we're trying to support all of us that do this advocacy, hold us all up, because this is a very difficult topic with lots of trigger warnings all the time. These 4 men are all trigger warnings. They make me sick. I've literally been sick about this case from the minute I learned about Sandra Birchmore. And then when I learned more, thanks to Mizzy and the volunteers and Sandra's cousin, all 4 of them make me sick. Now, Joshua Heel, my jury's out on him as far as what he knew. I don't know for sure.
So
there's no way to know for sure, Julie, if he knew what these 3 were up to, but he did admit to having S relations with Sandra Birchmore when she was only 18 and he was a grown adult. And he had to have known that she, how he couldn't tell that she was going through something and being abused by these other men is beyond me. Wake up and smell the coffee, Joshua,
So I guess that he was like the quote unquote confidant, but he did stuff too. So I guess that when, I forget if it was when Sandra was in the Explorers program or going or like trying to go through school, whatever it was, he's basically like the lesser of 2 or like he's basically like the least of the evils. Like if there's a scale of evil, he's like the least evil, but still evil is evil is evil.
Right.
So,
evil is evil.
So he's trying to get out of it like a little somehow. It's like, oh, no. It was totally consensual, totally when she was 18. I knew the other stuff and I tried to tell him, no, don't you do that. But it turned like there's other stuff and it's been redacted. It hasn't come out. So we can only say so much.
Advantage.
Yeah,
obviously.
Absolutely. They all did. And then some.
Well, these 3, well, for sure, these 2 did not take advantage. They knew exactly what they were doing. They groomed a very young child who they knew what they were doing. We still don't know what William Farwell's, is in all this. We don't know because very little has been said about him and his involvement. But he's hiding, somewhere out there, out west, somewhere in Arizona or New Mexico.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Yeah. So we'll see. I mean,
with Lori.
It's all going to come out, like they used to say, it's all going to come out in the wash now because
that's right.
It's all coming down the hill. The snowball's coming down the hill, not fast enough for most of us, but it's coming. So
it'll get there.
Yeah, yes. Now, one thing that happened that I believe might have also been part of why this hearing's getting backed again is that Matthew requested a death penalty lawyer, a lawyer who knows about the death penalty and the workings of, how do you get this person out of the death penalty? What is it going to take the death penalty off the table, which is what happened with the Kohlberger case. They ended up, doing he ended up pleading guilty to all 4 of the atrocious unalivings, and then death penalty was taken off the table. That case is bizarre as well and horrific in and of itself. I mean, we could do a whole live stream on that, of all the things I've learned. I've been following that case from the beginning. I've just never really live streamed much about it because it was kind of more my own thing to do on my own, because I was intrigued with a lot of the evidence as a former police officer and intrigued with the way the case was handled. And a lot of the live streamers that were out there talking about that case and talking about some of the evidence that, was sort of pointing towards a possible third-party culprit, which, if we believe in what happened with Karen Reed, then you have to consider it, that there's always that possibility that the wrong person's been arrested. And until you can see the trial and listen to the evidence and figure it all out, as we go, like Emily D. Baker's group, they watch the trial as jury members and they try to come to their decision as they watch the trial. Now, that's what I was prepared to do for the Kohlberger cases. I wanted to watch the trial as if I was on the jury, and I didn't want to make up my mind. I was trying to stay 50-50 that either he didn't do it alone or someone hired him to do it for various nefarious reasons. I always believed he was part of it, but I had a problem believing that he did it alone for a while, because it just seemed like too egregious, too short of a time span, too many other bizarre people involved. The characters in that case there's so many characters involved behind the scenes in that case as well. And so much that went on that was so suspect that I had a hard time for the longest time believing that he did it alone, or that he was, just out of the blue decided to stalk either one or both of these young ladies in the house. And it's a horrific, horrible case. And a lot of people couldn't even follow it because of the nature of it. But it's no more or less horrific than this, than these 4 grown adult men doing what they did, grooming a 13-year-old child who trusted them and wanted to be a police officer and was in an Explorer program. It doesn't get any more egregious than this. But this is scary, because if it's happened in Stoughton and Canton, and if she was unalived in Canton, this happened in Stoughton, it could be happening everywhere. And now we find out that the guy who unalived these parents, I think he was going to try to kidnap those girls. I think he has had issues, severe psychological issues and evil issues for years. And they didn't know it. And he was a teacher in other schools. I mean, I don't know what else is going to come out. It's terrifying. It's just all terrifying, Julie. I just hate it all. I hate it all. But we have to advocate for victims of these crimes. And so now we wait right till October. Now, yep. Mizzy put out, let me see if I can find it. Mizzy put out that there's going to be 2 dates. So let me get you these dates so that we can put those on our calendar to pay attention to this now.
The 6th and the 15th.
Is that it?
Yeah, something like that. I know one's like the last pretrial conference, and then one's the whatever it is, like the evidentiary conference.
Here, let me go to my Twitter X, because that's where it is.
Right.
So
I mean, there's a lot of time between August and October, and I mean, August 4th is coming up quick for a different case, but still involves the Department of Justice and Massachusetts and the feds. So
right,
these things are entitled, and I mean, like people are mentioning, and also, like what Sean said when he had his interview with Grant, because Grant said, well, I want to believe you that, that he's singing like a canary, but he just hired this new death penalty attorney. And Sean said, you think that he's going to come here and not do anything to make it look like he's singing like a bird so everybody gets scared? He's going to like go through the motions and say, all right, we'll hire this attorney and we'll do this and we'll do that. And we'll, not draw eyes, and will not act suspicious, like, oh, we're going to keep doing these hearings, and then boom, he sings like a canary, and now we have indictments. So,
well, look what happened. So, yeah, look what happened with Kohlberger. I mean,
exactly. That's just like
that was just weeks away from being being at trial. And then, nobody saw that coming. That shocked everybody that was following that case. So here we go. I did find it, and you were right. And I'll get to that question in a second, MCOT. Where is Bert? So Matthew Farwell's hearing has been moved to October 6th at 2 p.m. So I'll put that on my calendar. We'll obviously talk about it as it comes closer. And then October 16th at 11 a.m. So those are the 2 dates, October 6th and October 16th. And I'll continue to follow let me read to you a little bit about what everybody's saying. So I just thanked Mizzy for keeping us all updated. I appreciate it.
She's doing a great job. She has a hard time live streaming during the summertime because she's up on the second floor and it's not insulated, and she has a hard time with the air conditioning, and so she has a hard time. So like she said, like when it gets cooler in the fall, starts to come around, she's going to do stuff a little bit more regularly. But she says like whenever she gets a chance to, she'll hop on for a little bit. So, but good for her for dealing with it. Her Barb, that's Sandra's cousin Barb. Right. So let's see here. Well, a couple people are just like, let's go. Tired of this wait. Dave says, I predict both hearings will be postponed again. Gracie says, I hope every second is mentally torturing him while he sits locked up right now, waiting to receive his ultimate doomed fate for what he did. Keep the faith that Sandra will get her justice. That's right. That's right. Patience is a virtue. Right. Some channels on YouTube with excellent lawyers say the feds keep moving potentially because they keep finding more info. So I think that might, exactly. I think that's very possible. Right. And we're just theorizing on here, unless, we don't know for sure, because they're not going to tell us. So, of course, there's people getting frustrated. Why is this taking so long? How much? We will not hold our breath, because now every time they tell us there's a hearing, it gets pushed. So now this is like the little boy who cried wolf. Right. So then, interesting. So this is, I don't know why this person's putting this here, but this is from Joey Bag of Donuts, who we've talked about before. He's got an interesting Twitter X account. He says, Turtle Boy's former fling, Lindsay Gattani, who helped Brian Tully frame him, takes a plea deal in her threats case. So no. Oh God. Okay. We'll talk about this later, but okay, go ahead. So we'll get to that. So then, let's see I guess that's really about all everybody has to say on Mizzy's post on that. Okay. All right. Like, why do you need to bring that stuff to Mizzy? Like, Mizzy's doing one thing and you want to like, why? I know. Why is that make a new post. Right. Right. Or at least get your facts straight. Okay. It's pre-trial. I forget. Pre-trial probation. Yeah. Pre-trial probation, which is a notch under quaff. Right. Oh, now here we go. Mizzy just, what would she write here? Okay. Yep. So she did it looks like did they do a live stream when Josh Heel had his hearing? I think they did. Yeah. That was the one last week. That's the one they told you about, where it was. She had, where they went up there and was like, okay, what's your excuse for not having anything? Okay. What's your excuse for not having anything? Okay. What's your excuse for not having anything? Okay. Well, nobody has anything. I want stuff by next time. And then they set another date of, I forget when. I think the next date is in September at some time. But Mizzy seemed optimistic because she said this is only the second meeting and the judge is already demanding stuff. So, like, it seemed like a nothing, but Mizzy says exciting. So, yeah. This is interesting. I missed this on Mizzy's page. This is a photo of Divine and Farwell. And this says, this is how far back Divine and the Farwell go. Yes, it says this is when they were in high school. This is when they were in the Explorers program, and Divine was their mentor. So this, I don't know how if you'll be able to really see it, but So on the right there, hold up there for 1 second. So on the right, that's Matthew Farwell, and I think the guy in the middle is, the guy in the car holding his hands up like this. I don't know if that's Divine or whatever it was, but that's basically him in high school saying like, oh, we're going to teach you how to be a cop and we're pulling people over. So they go back a long time. That's why they were speculating that he might have groomed these guys from a long time ago. And that it's, that the weeds and their feelers run deep. So. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So MCAT, back to your question. We don't know. We lost our friend Bert. We haven't seen him since the verdict came in, and I wrote to him on Twitter X to see if he was okay, if something health-wise had happened to him, but I didn't hear back. So Bert, if you're out there somewhere, we missed you. You had great conversation, great comebacks for a lot of our speak
on Friday Night Lives. We hope you'll come back and join us if you're out there. I don't have any other, I never got an email, MCAT, for Bert. So I just had his Twitter X account, and he hasn't written back to me since the verdict. So you're always welcome, Bert. We hope you're out there somewhere. We hope you're okay. So
yeah, that seems to be a common thing amongst some accounts. Like as soon as the verdict came up, a lot of people just, disappeared into the ether. So
yeah. Well, what I'm waiting for and hoping for is it's not just about these 4 men. Somebody helped him cover that up, because as that journalist was saying, when I showed you the report, there is no way any good, decent, hardworking police officer and or detective bureau of your department is not going to look into that and you have to make sure 100% sure that person unalived themselves, because if they didn't, you've got a killer out there. Sorry, YouTube, but you've got somebody out there who's
murderer,
who may schmurder again, not just the schmurder of Sandra Birchmore, but that person could have schmurdered again, right? So if it's the same with the Ellen Greenberg case in Philadelphia, absolutely atrocious that anybody in their right mind was willing to overturn that ME when he overturned his own opinion. He gave his true opinion as an ME, medical examiner, that she was unalived by someone else because she had 20 stab wounds in her body. How in the world would any ME think that person could have, and she had bruises in various degrees of healing on her body? How anybody could have thought that Ellen Greenberg, any medical examiner, they would need to be fired. Well, then he said, yes, this was a homicide. She had 20 stab wounds. She had bruises in various degrees of healing on her body. She wasn't being stalked by anybody. She didn't have any enemies. She was a school teacher. But she had a fiance. And what do we know? We know 85% of women are unalived by someone they know. And of that 85, 62% are their husbands, fiancés, exes, on and on. So that should have been right in the forefront of that investigation. But guess what? They never did an investigation into Ellen Greenberg's passing, because a couple months later, while they were dragging their feet, not doing an investigation, they had this secret meeting with the ME. And because that came out much later when her parents hired a private investigator, and he said, oh, you know what? I got that wrong. Let me change that. After all, you know what? She did stab herself 20 times, and I'm just going to ignore these bruises she had in various stages of healing on her body. And I'm just going to say, yep, she unalived herself. That's it. Case closed. And the police allowed the apartment, somehow or another, the day after she was unalived, the apartments called the police and said, we'd like to go in and clean up that apartment. And can we do that? And the police said, yes. I'm like, wait a minute. Her family hasn't even got to come in yet and get out her personal effects. And you haven't done a crime scene investigation of this apartment. You haven't looked for blood spatter or hairs or fiber or any evidence that could point to who did this to her. The police said, go ahead. The Philadelphia Police Department gave permission for the apartment managers to clean Ellen Greenberg's apartment the day after she passed. If that just doesn't scream corruption and abuse by the police department, what does, right? But they got away with it. They got away with it for all these years. And her parents have had to have court battles, hire two other medical examiners, a private investigator. And we're still waiting. We're still waiting for the current ME, after the old ME wrote a letter back in February and said, my bad, I screwed up. I should have never overturned that. If I was still there now, I would put it back to a homicide. But I can't, because I live in Florida now. Sorry. That's what Ellen Greenberg's family has had to deal with since 2011. And what Sandra Birchmore's family had to deal with was absolutely the same, only it came out into the light. It came out into the light much, much, much sooner because the FBI got involved. Now, why hasn't the FBI gotten involved in Sandra Birchmore? I mean, in Ellen Greenberg. Why? We need to know that, right? So we'll be having some more live streams about Ellen Greenberg. We're not done advocating for her. Her and her family still have no justice. Who I believe unalived her is out there living his best life, got married, had a child, and the Greenbergs and Ellen's parents, the Greenbergs, Sandy and her father, have suffered just like Sandra Birchmore's family and friends suffered. But thankfully, it wasn't as long. They were able to get this absolute evil man, Matthew Farwell, in custody, and he's been sitting in jail for a year. And we'll keep following along with Mizzy and her cousin Barbara, and we'll keep bringing you updates on Sandra Birchmore, because she is telling us from the heavens, her and her unborn child, my life mattered, my baby's life mattered.
Sure is.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate you supporting and advocating Sandra Birchmore and her family and her group of advocates from Massachusetts. All right, Julie, what do we need to say now?
All right, let's watch some court stuff. So this happened. All right, we'll go to Brian Walshe. Can you share screen?
Yes, ma'am.
So this is last week. Oh my God, it was last week. Okay, I wasn't sure because again, so much happened, and I mean, we had all the stuff that we talked about with the federal stuff, with the federal witness stuff. That again, it could be a nothing burger, but it doesn't look like it's a nothing burger. So we'll see. That's going to happen on the 4th. That's going to be in federal court. That was supposed to be the same day as Matthew Farwell's hearing. So it was going to be.
So is this coming up on? Is that Monday, Julie?
Yes, that's Monday. Yep.
Okay.
That's why I think a lot of this stuff
for the chat here. So October 4th.
No, August.
August. I'm trying to.
No, I know you put it in there. Yes.
I've got Farwell in my brain. Okay, August 4th. We've got Monday.
So
what
August
time
4th
is this?
It's either 2 or 2:30. That's going to be in federal court, so it's not going to be broadcast. But I think people are going to be at the court to see what happens after. So she's going to actually plead. The last time, what happened was she went there and they said, okay, you made the statement that you're going to plea, and we negotiated anything. And so the judge asked, are you planning on pleading not guilty? And she said no. And the judge said, okay, we'll come back on this day, August 4th, and reconvene. And then that day we'll plead, you'll plead, and we'll go from there. So that's what's happening on that day. Now, a lot of interesting stuff came out with the Cosgrove stuff and what Karen Reed's doing with her new criminal attorney, who is, I think his name's Boozang or whatever it is. A lot of stuff came out about oh, why haven't you given her a phone, this and that. And some other stuff came out where people were saying where's Michael Morris? He didn't make a comment. Well, it turns out they did make a comment, and I have the clip to play afterwards.
Okay.
He did say something, so that's kind of telling. And then the stuff with Cosgrove and what's going on. So it's going to be interesting. So that's Monday. And then Tuesday is the continuation with Lally and Proctor and those guys. And Proctor came out saying well, I don't want to talk about all this stuff. And well, you have a whole bunch of shit to say. So here we go. Let's say it. But anyway, so on top of all that, Brian Walshe had his motion to dismiss hearing, and some other stuff came up with that at the end of it. So we'll play a little bit of. So
let me ask you real quick. So August 5th is going to be Proctor.
That's going to be that's going to be Ask Riemann with Rode again. So Lally's going to finish because Romeo Scapiccio didn't get a chance to finish. So she's coming back to talk about that. Then they personally subpoenaed.
Wait, who's on the 4th? Kate?
No. On the 4th is the federal grand jury. So that's federal court. That's not going to be shown. That's what's happening on federal court. That's the federal grand juror. She goes in and they're going to accept the plea of guilty, and she's going to accept her sentence and go from there.
Who's going though? I've lost. I'm
the grand juror, the woman in Drake.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
I know. There's all sorts of shit going on.
I almost forgot about her. To me, she's just not even on my radar anymore.
Oh, are you kidding? That's the only thing that's.
But there's been so much happening.
Because all the bullshit that's going on in the background with this one snipping at this one, that one's sniffing at this one, and this one's good, thinks they're good at this one, and then John Barron comes in and says, "I'm John Barron," and everybody gets all upset with their panties in a twist. All that I see is the feds are watching all of this, and they must be laughing their asses off or looking don't these people have friends? So anyway, so that's what's happening.
Okay, thank you. I didn't forget. I didn't forget, but I kind of forgot about this.
There's so much shit. How do you keep it straight?
Yeah. Hi, Shauna. Welcome. Shauna, I mentioned you a little earlier when I was kind of giving my little recap of all the bullying going on again on Twitter X and how you've supported me to remain quiet. And so I want to read a little bit about about what you wrote to me earlier in the week, if that's okay with you, because I find it to be very fascinating how your brain thinks, and you give great advice, and you're very poetic when you give great advice. So I want to share this with the audience, something that you wrote to me earlier in the week. So we'll get to that a little later. Okay, Jules, go ahead, dear.
What was I going to say? Yeah. So this was the motion to dismiss, and the way it starts off as one thing, and the judge comes in, she's on the screen right now. It starts off as one thing, and we're going to skip through most of it because they kind of repeat the same stuff. Also, they use the name of somebody who I guess may or may not have been outed, but we're going to leave that out because like weird stuff's been going on, and plus I don't want to draw attention to any of that stuff. So we'll get to the meat and potatoes. So it starts off as saying like, well, this is the argument we're going to make, but then it goes into this talking about the Fed stuff and the stuff going on with, again, the same people involved with Norfolk County DA's office, the Norfolk County's Mass State Police unit, the Texas units that's there, and discovery materials, and God knows what else is there. So we're going to touch upon this, and then we'll like just kind of gloss over, like we'll give you like the important parts of what happened when the judge, because the judge was basically ready to go with the motion to dismiss. She gave her ruling on it, and then they had a very, very, very quick court proceeding today that was maybe 5 minutes, and nothing really seemed to come from it, but people seem to kind of read into a lot of stuff. But anyways, we'll watch this for a little bit.
Thanks.
We can talk about that as well today, and how that particular issue impacts this case, which may be very different than some of the other cases that were involved in the prior hearing. But I'll hear you on those two motions, and then again, anything else that you wish. So let me just tell you where I am with regard to my level of preparation so that you can respond accordingly. I have read all the days of the grand jury transcript. I have read, I'd probably say 75% of all the documents that were presented to the grand jury. And that 75% is directed towards the issues that I thought would be important for today. So for instance, I didn't spend any time looking at grand jury records that related to airlines. I didn't.
Okay, so she's talking about saying, okay, I went through and I focused on the parts of what I thought you were guys going to talk about, where the motion dismissed, talking about the important meat and potato, which is the Google searches, all the issues that everybody had with Proctor, the investigation, the warrants, stuff like that. And she's saying, I didn't pay a lot of attention. Like I read that, but I gave more weight to these pieces. And what the defense is going to come with is the pieces that she's talking about that she didn't give weight to. And so she's kind of a little bit like, why are we talking about this? So
spend any time looking at grand jury records that related to finances. Well, we can make an argument, but the argument isn't made with regard to what's contained in those records. So I read all relevant, what I thought were relevant grand jury exhibits. I've obviously read your motions. So as a preliminary matter, that's where I start. The defense's motion. I'll hear from the defense first.
Getting all your daily nutrients is hard work, but nutrition gaps in your diet are inevitable.
Now, he is a public defender. I think it's Larry Tipton is his name.
Thank you, Judge. First thing I want to address is this, the interpretation of Riley. And we cite to Riley, and then the Commonwealth cites to Riley, and it appears that Commonwealth relies on Riley and their interpretation of Riley to say, since we, in their opinion, met the sufficiency of evidence as to premeditation and specific intent, now we can also prosecute on extreme atrocity and cruelty. Let me just first address Riley. That's not what Riley says. What we made clear in our memorandum is that Riley stands for the simple proposition that they clarified to Pace. They basically said, just to be clear, Pace was talking about the face of an indictment under 265-1. And they said, now this case Riley presents a different matter. And so to be clear, you have to present sufficient evidence to the grand jury on first-degree murder. And they kind of left it at that. Then the opinion kind of wanders off and says something about, in footnote 8, that the Commonwealth tends to rely on, saying that if you present any theory of first-degree murder, you can then, it seems to be saying you can, at least that's what the Commonwealth says, you can then prosecute on any theory. That's not logical. If you just think about it for a moment, Judge, that would defy well-standing law. Moran, Walchek now, Umberto H., handwrite, the cases we cite, and two of the cases that they cite, Moran and Walshe, that make it clear that elements of the crime at issue, the grand jury has to hear sufficient evidence to make out the elements of the crime that is going to be indicted. And what does that mean for this case? What it means is that you have to, if you want to prosecute Mr. Walshe on a theory of extreme atrocity and cruelty, you have to give the grand jury at least sufficient evidence meeting the probable cause to arrest standard on what the elements of extreme atrocity and cruelty are. And what do those elements include? They include the three now Castillo factors, that the grand jury has to hear sufficient evidence of at least one, I would suggest at least one, if not all three of those factors. They heard nothing at all. And the Commonwealth in their memorandum does not even try to argue that they presented any evidence of those factors. And why is that? Why is it important to understand what Riley says and what Riley doesn't say? Because if you just think about it for one moment, if a grand jury only heard sufficient evidence of third-pronged malice, an intent to do an act that a reasonable person with the facts known to the defendant at the time would have believed would have resulted in a plain and strong likelihood of death. And let's just say for this hypothetical that the grand jury also heard sufficient evidence of premeditation. Is it the Commonwealth's position that the indictment, whether it's issued with the language of 265-1, would allow a prosecution of premeditated murder? Of course it wouldn't, because the only malice element that grand jury heard was third-pronged malice that does not apply to premeditated murder.
Is that fair recitation or evaluation of the evidence that was presented, that they only heard third-pronged malice?
No, I'm not representing that, Judge. I'm trying to just distinguish and make clear.
Right, so let me just ask you, Attorney Tipton.
Yes.
It seems to me that this motion to dismiss.
No, don't interrupt.
And Doug. Okay, here's what you want to do. See if
is based on an argument of insufficient evidence. And the issue that you're raising now seems to me to be something that is relevant perhaps to a motion in limine with regard to what the Commonwealth can produce at trial. But your task today is to convince me that there was insufficient evidence of premeditation, right?
Well, that's right insofar as you've stated it, but I understand my task is also to argue that they did not provide sufficient information to establish.
But you agree with me, sir, that if they provided sufficient evidence of premeditation, the first-degree murder and malice, the first-degree murder indictment stands.
The first-degree murder, insofar as it alleges premeditated murder,
goes back to what I just said. Isn't this an issue that you're addressing with the court? An issue with regard to limitations on evidence if you're unsuccessful in this motion down the road?
If I understand the court, Judge, and I might not. So
okay, I need a Julie
explanation
on this. I need Julie breakdown.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. All right. So she came there and said, okay, I read your arguments and I went through the case and, familiarized myself with like how I see the most important parts, which were the police investigation, like all the stuff that they've been bitching about for a long time, like the police investigation, trying to figure out if we can dismiss the case based on those grounds. He comes up here and says, no. The Commonwealth didn't appropriately argue how you get to first-degree murder because they brought a three-pronged attack by saying, like, well, he wrote down all of these searches, and that could be the intent of doing an act, but it doesn't show the premeditation of planning it out. So basically, he's making the argument of he did those searches after the crime of passion, where they fought and he happened to murder her, and then said oh shit, what am I going to do now? Let me Google and all this stuff. He's saying that the Commonwealth didn't do their due diligence or show the grand jury evidence to show that, yes, this guy actually searched out and had this whole scheme of saying I need money, therefore she's going here, and I investigated this and I have this whole plan working into this. So he's making this argument trying to get first-degree murder off the table, and she's looking at this saying, why the hell are you arguing this when it could be a motion down the road? This is the motion to dismiss, not to argue motion eliminate to keep certain evidence out. So she's kind of confused, and that's why she kind of goes back and forth. I mean, you got to give it to this judge. She asks a lot of questions going back and forth. She's not just going to hear the case. So that's why she's kind of what are you doing? So that's what's happening here. I had to watch this a couple times too. I'm like, wait, is she really yelling at him about? I'm I heard too, and I was like, wait, is this just a really a really niche law argument? No, he's just going you should be going straight ahead, and he went off to the left a little bit. So he's trying to get first-degree murder off the table, and she's kind of looking like, okay, I thought we were going to argue something else, but okay, I'll entertain it. So he does this for a while. Yep.
Before we go back to that, just for those who have not been following this case whatsoever and have no clue why we're showing this. So Ana Walshe disappeared and is presumed to have passed away on either January 1st or January 2nd of 2023. And by January 18th, they arrested her husband. So it wasn't like it took them forever to figure out what happened to her, like in many of these other cases of women of domestic violence that we've been standing for. So he was arrested and charged with murder. And this is interesting. It says arrested and charged with murder and disinterring a body without authority, with prosecutors alleging that he unalived her, dismembered her, and disposed of her. Judge, and is this the new judge then, Shauna? I mean, Julie?
Yes, yeah. This is Judge. It's either Judge Frenier or Judge Prenier.
A new judge was assigned for the case, and she's for the end of 2025 because this obviously she's been missing now since 2023. So he's charged allegedly beating her to her death, disposing of her, which is exact to someone we've been standing for a long time, Jennifer Farwell, and she's never been bail and unalived himself. So those of you that followed the Michelle Troconis trial, she was charged with I can't remember all her charges right now, to be honest with you, but she really didn't get a very long prison sentence. And there's still many people as far as DNA and blood goes, dispose of the body and how to dismember a FR.
Well, that's because they bring that up there too. So yeah, since the Reed case, a lot of like shit has opened, and the feds came through and they did an investigation of the investigation going on. It's related to Sandra Birchmore and this whole thing to basically say with the Miles Davis, Miles
King?
Yep, Miles King. Thank you, Miles King case of murdering Marquis Simmons. I know his last name was Simmons. Defense team for Karen Reed, but they also had information because same people. They said, hey, we have 30 days to destroy this. If you guys claims, you need to tell us. So we need this because it sounds like we need stuff. And oh, by the way, the feds got stuff and we didn't. So they said, all right, we'll go through, make motions. And one case ended up getting involved with you're going to see people talking to the feds. And like it just turned into like who's talking to who's not doing their job. Laura McLaughlin she was the second ADA with Al Malley in the first case and sat there again the second case with Inc. So like
to make sure because a lot of people that
they go back and forth and she's like, why are you at? And they're like, okay, let's go to the comments. There's
and or sometimes it could happen on both of our these Google searches that he might because of the nefarious actions of police officers.
Yuri got moved.
I mean, there's still
and he had a hand in I believe to that one. That's what it was. And then they talked about their the search warrants and in the motion to dismiss the judge's response, she wrote and said, well, you guys talked to the lawyer and it turns out that you actually consented to this piece, but then we took that the rebel guy doesn't go scot-free.
I mean, it's very scary though.
I mean, that's a shit. Like, yay, oh, we're getting rid of the Miles King case, just like with this. These people go free, and they were locked up for a reason because it looks like they have really good evidence, a really good case. I mean, poor Marquis Simmons, his last friggin' words were saying, "That guy shot me." These guys don't want to do their goddamn jobs.
Well, and the super scary thing about it is that your police aren't doing their jobs because after they effed up the Karen Reed and the Sandra Brian Walshe is that he, no doubt in my mind that he did this. And based on all of the evidence and everything I've read. And I remember following this from the get-go when she first went missing in 2023. I'm like, oh, things that happen with domestic violence cases, the fiance or the exes, to find that person, and it's horrific to even think of it. And and they'll admit they did it and they'll get arrested. So unfortunately, or they do this. Barry Morphew recently got arrested. Every intention of them never finding Susan. When they did the autopsy on her remaining bones, they said that they grave that she did not decompose by a tranquilizer gun. So I can guarantee you, he had a woman, he hid her somewhere, one of his friends in helping him hide the murder weapon, what he probably used evidence to arrest him. I mean, her for years, just like Ellen Greenberg was getting abused for years, but instead I forgot the other Greenberg's fiance, they make it look like they unalive themselves. So that's the other option that they have at their disposal, these evil, sick people. So this is going to be absolutely a horrific tragedy if Brian Walshe walks, because he is a very scary, violent individual. And he's a good actor, like Photos Doulos was, like Suzanne Clark Simpson's husband, and making you believe they're these great individuals. They're well liked and they're making lots of money, and they're loud and proud. They have big personalities, and these are the guys that end up doing this to their wives and their significant others. And so if they walk, the odds of them being rehabilitated are very low, because they've been getting away with this nefarious behavior for so long. They're violent narcissists is what they are. They're narcissists who turn violent, and the cure rate for that is low. And you all know I'm a very big believer in rehabilitation, because there are things that can be rehabilitated. There are people that can be rehabilitated. There are things about your personality that you may not like about yourself that you can rehabilitate about yourself. And even criminals can be rehabilitated. It's been proven. There's research on it. But some things no. I mean, a murderous narcissist is probably has a very low percentage chance of ever being rehabilitated, because they don't believe that they're a bad person. They have excuses for everything they do, including unaliving someone. So if Brian Walshe walks because of these dirty cops and these cops who can't do their job properly and hung around in Stoughton and Canton and Massachusetts State Police getting away with this stuff for all these years, it's just going to be sickening and scary for whatever woman doesn't know who this creepy guy is. And he comes off as being this great guy, this great human being, and he will do it again. I don't have any doubt in my mind that if he ends up getting off and he ends up with another girlfriend or another wife down the line, he may not M-word this other wife, maybe, because maybe he'll know then that he can't get away with the second one, but he'll abuse her. There's no doubt about it, because I just don't find him to be be able to be rehabilitated. He's been doing this for probably prior to 2014, probably prior to when he met Ana Walshe, whoever was with him before. I would love to interview that person. They were probably being abused. It's just a travesty of epic proportions what's going on with these officers in Massachusetts right now.
Any hoozles. Yeah, I mean, all the eyes are on Norfolk County and what's going on here. And yeah, I mean, if you look and say, like, how do they have such like haphazard, slapdash way of dealing with murder, murder investigation. I mean, what does that say about just the system as a whole? And I mean, I don't know personally from, like what happens in Suffolk County, Essex County for murder, but I mean, for lower stuff like misdemeanors and like different courts, I mean, Boston Globe has done studies, has done stories on, family court, probate court,
right,
district courts, about how it takes forever and a half to even hear. Like, you get there and it's like, okay, where's this? Okay, like it's almost like you go to court just to schedule your next continuance, like continuance, and that's not justice, because I mean, just like you're saying, like the reason why you have victims and witnesses is to say, like, hey, we saw something, we saw bad shit happening, and we want accountability for this bad shit in our area, in our neighborhood, and we don't want this to happen again. Like, something was done to us. We want, accountability. And to have these guys just sit here and like, meh, like Eeyore on the stand the other day, like, meh, I guess, sent an email. Meh,
and what was one of the phrases that we heard many times during the Karen Reed trial 1 and trial 2?
Do your job. Oh, no, it's Belichick.
Julie.
We need more Bill Belichick. Do your job.
Julie, does your memory get better with time?
Oh, well, according to this, it gets so much better, especially in Canton with the firefighters and the EMT. Right. My memory is better today than it was that day. Really, when
our memories do not get better with time. I don't care how old you are or what you've done in life, but trauma can actually cause your memories to get worse with time because your brain is trying to protect you from what you saw and what you heard. And as time goes by, you're going to forget a lot of it because your brain is trying to protect you. Your soul and your body and your brain are trying to protect you from that awful thing that you witnessed. So this is just, I've learned so much about the court system. I knew a little bit about it. Obviously, my mom worked in it for my whole life, so I heard a lot about her court cases. And then being an officer, I saw many of my fellow officers having to go to court to testify and other cases that I've been following true crime for many years because I've always been interested in it. But there was never this much coverage like we have now. So most of it, you were reading about it in the newspaper back in believe it or not, guys, we had newspapers once. They were paper. They were delivered to your door and you read them on the weekends when you had more time. You let them pile up during the week when you had to work, but on the weekends. And then Sunday paper would be like this thick and you would read your Sunday paper. That's where you'd get most of your information or from the news. You didn't have all the live streamers and the YouTubers and everything that you guys all have today to follow these cases in your communities and in the country. So, okay. Do you want to go back to a little bit about this hearing? What day was this hearing?
Oh, yes, please. Yeah, this was the July 24th. Yep.
Okay.
Do you have, wait a second.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
I'm going to stretch for a little bit, but I'm here. I'm just going to put my camera off.
Is my, right, yeah, my screen's still up, right? Did you put my, wait, I can't, oh, hang on one second. I can't see. Oh, yeah, we're still there. I must.
You got it?
I think something's going on with the stream. I know that Melanie had some trouble with when she was doing this stuff. She said that she was struck for some reason because people were using words or because they were talking about different stuff and like the different types of like taking people apart and doing that. So she wasn't sure if it was about that, but like they weren't specific with it. So I'm wondering if we're having issues. I mean, I don't see that we're off air, and I mean, Shauna would have said something if we were like off air, or this wouldn't be copyright. I think it would just say like, oh, like grotesque, like whatever they do. But
yeah,
but that stuff's all in the past. That's why I skipped over. Like I wanted to get like a little flavor, but like the stuff in the middle, like they say names.
Let me remove it, and sometimes you just because.
Oh no, you're good. I just checked. No, we're good. We're good.
All right. Sometimes if I remove it, it's Yeah.
Oh, no, it was just on my phone. That's how I see to make sure that I'm still up and that you can hear me. And
well, see, here's the thing is that we're not monetized. So what Melanie's talking about is she loses monetization if she talks about too many things that have to do with unaliving and if you show an autopsy, for instance, or if you show things that are, when I was showing autopsy of Ellen Greenberg, I gave trigger alerts, but I'm not monetized, so I can do and say anything I want within reason. I mean, they'll get on your case.
Murder sharks.
They don't love the word schmurder anymore. And I found something interesting because somebody used the word unaliving on a Facebook post the other day that I was reading, and someone wrote on there, "What the heck is that? That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard of." An M is an M. It's a word in the dictionary. It's the word we've given to when we unalive someone else, we M-word them. So I want to understand why YouTube can't come back around to understanding that is not a sensitive word. That is a word in the dictionary. It's a word that has to do with when someone's been unalived. Homicide is an umbrella term. So they don't seem to be upset that I use that. I haven't gotten any strikes for that or anything like that, but that's an umbrella term for unaliving, right? That's a law enforcement term. So, why they have a problem with the M word is I have no clue. I've got to look into it because it really bothers me that they are limiting our free speech with words that are in the dictionary, words that have been assigned to represent something like you're my friend. The word friend has been assigned to back in the day to represent an association that you and I have together is a friendship. Now, the word, the M word, the schmurder word, is a word that was assigned to describe when one person takes another person and removes them from this world by hurting them to the level of their heart's no longer beating, they're no longer breathing. Why YouTube and social media has determined that we can't use the M word is completely beyond me. I don't understand it all. I would love someone to give me an explanation of this. If any of you have looked into this, I keep saying I'm going to look into it and then I forget to do it. But it's just ridiculous. I mean, they're taking words away from us that describe an event, that describe an action, that have been in the dictionary, that have been used for years. And why? I mean, what is their power to do this? I don't understand it at all. I just don't.
I mean, that's basically the like, this is why we can't have nice things. Like, okay, like if people like overuse it or they take pictures, like that's the same thing like with R word, where they're like, oh, R word, essay, all that stuff. Like it gets diluted and then it turns into like something like foolish, where it's like, oh, you used a pew pew. Like, no, just say the goddamn word. Like,
these are things that are happening to people. These are actions.
This is real life. I'm sorry. This is real life. Real life is horrible sometimes, and we need to look at it and say, look how horrible it is, because we can do something about it. But if they turn around, it's like, oh, they grope and grape and like. Stop acting like children. Like, oh, this bothers me.
Whatever word you choose to put on something that's horrible, it's still going to be horrible. It's still going to be a crime. So you can change the word up. You can call it, oh, she was graped. I'm like, are you kidding me?
That's like PG rated. Like, no, say what it actually is, because that does a disservice to victims who deal with shit like that.
These victims
don't make it fun. Like, oh, this, like, no.
These victims are telling us from heaven, my life mattered and their life mattered. And we have to look at the crime and how did this crime happen to them? Who, what, where, when, why, how? And we need a word to describe what happened to this person. And now you're making me use another word, unalived. Like, why? Why is unalived any better or worse than schmurder? Because murder, YouTube, is the word in the dictionary for when someone takes someone else's life. So what the hell? Like, so unaliving is going to become too sensitive in 5 or 10 years? Because that means this person is no longer with us and they didn't have a hand in their unaliving. I mean, it's just ridiculous. It's
just going to get further and further and further away. Like, instead of saying this person murdered this person, it's going to be like, oh, this person happened to be the one associated with the person whose soul left it. Like, just say what it is. That's a charge. That's a legal charge. This is what we're talking about, court cases. It's a legal charge. You are a murderer. And I keep saying murderer because I don't want to get you in trouble. But like, it's bullshit. It's absolute bullshit. You can't say these words. It
is. It's
aggravating. Anyways, all right.
And we need to start a campaign. Bring back my words that are in the dictionary. You idiots out there determining that these words are not allowed to be said or spelled on Twitter or on Facebook. I mean, it's just utterly egregious. But yet people can put defamation, they can dox people, they can say things that aren't true and lie about people, and they don't seem to care about that on social media.
No,
you can just lie through your teeth every day on social media. Nobody that's happened to another living human, and we're going to strike you. And we're not monetized, so they can't really hurt us that way. But they can hurt the other content, truth, and report the facts as they are. So yeah, we need to start a protest. We need to stand out. We want our words back. I want my words back. Let me add this back.
There we go. Okay. All right. Yeah. So they go through a whole bunch of stuff, and then all right, so we'll watch this because they start talking about like, oh, by the way, there's stuff with Proctor and other people, and they talk about protection orders, which is something that came up today in the Cosgrove stuff, and something that came up that we saw with Emily D. Baker, that there are protection orders out, and nobody knows to what the protection order is referring. So we'll see.
14. I think that's a bridge we'd have to cross. Yes. And at some point. Yeah. And the other paragraph that stood out to me as having relevance to this issue is the opening sentence, or all of paragraph 11, with regard to the issue of possession, custody, and control.
Right there.
The first sentence of paragraph 11? I think it might be one. Yeah. Yes. So, but we don't have to, I'm just alerting you to those two paragraphs because they're two things that caught my attention as we move forward on this issue. But let me hear from the Commonwealth first with regard to and then I'll go back to the defense. Thank you, Attorney Porges.
Thank you, Your Honor. So it's kind of a unique posture because my co-counsels are not party to viewing the protective order at this juncture. So First Assistant Lisa Beatty has been in contact with the Special Assistant.
What does supervisor mean?
That would have been the chief of the appellate unit at the time who signed the protective order.
Okay, so right here they're talking about the federal stuff, saying, okay, well, some stuff for Rule 14 came in, which is the Proctor stuff, and some other stuff that came in from the feds, saying like, hey, because and Laura McLaughlin, who's standing right there, came up and said, hey, I was on the case with the Reed case and dealt with Proctor and stuff, and then other stuff came in, and now we got orders from the defense attorney right there who just stood up on
in 2024.
Right there.
But it says,
hang on one second. Who stood up and said, hey, we should get to some discovery and we're going to talk about this, and said, okay, well, if you want to make a motion and kind of like do like what Rosemary Scapiccio was doing with the Miles King case with Lally and those guys, we'll talk about it and we'll figure out like what to do going forward with that. So that's what she's going to talk about here.
Okay.
Is that right?
That was the way.
Hold on a second. I just want to go back and see what what does that mean?
Care and repercussion.
No pipes, no grid,
Really?
just this simple device, quietly producing gallons of pure water every.
Used a faucet.
Right.
So at that time, it was the First Assistant, Lynn Beeland.
But it wasn't just appellate supervisors. It says any supervisors of counsel of record. So anybody that was counsel of record supervisor, which could be multiple levels. I don't really know. I haven't studied your corporate structure.
Correct. But as I can say today, well, defense counsel has the opportunity to review the protective order. My co-counsels have not had that opportunity. So Lisa Beatty is in contact with the Special Assistant Attorney General, who has an update. She's on Zoom. If Your Honor would like to hear from her, where the office is working with the U.S. Attorney's Office about any future amendments to this protective order or any additional clarification that the office is seeking. I'd like to hear from her. She is on Zoom and could fill the court in on recent updates that occurred this morning.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Let's see.
Can you hear me now, Your Honor?
Yes, and I can see you.
Okay.
Okay, great.
Yes,
Thank you. Your Honor, I'm in the process of drafting.
Okay, so this is the lady who is who Commonwealth is speaking to, who is addressing the Department of Justice, who is dealing with the protection order. Now, who does the protection order cover? We're not exactly sure in this case, but what they're talking about is that there's a protection order came out in the Reed case that might pertain to this case. Holly, any of those guys, Lally, any of those guys. She's going to say in about a minute or so. Okay. She gets after this woman gets up there. So, and the judge will get into it. So we'll let them.
Right. I noticed for Judge Krupp, which is due in 18 minutes. And
Judge Krupp is the one who was overseeing the big hearing, was one with Rosemary Scapiccio and Lally and those guys, but was also overseeing like the federal order of saying like, hey, we have Proctor's text and other information. Do you want to make a motion for what's going on here? He's doing that. So she's talking to the Fed by saying like, hey, how do we get this information for the Commonwealth? Now, this is who Laura McLaughlin talks to and kind of orchestrates, like, how do we go through and do this? Now, Laura McLaughlin's going to talk about what her role is in all this. And it's interesting.
I got a call from our counsel informing us that at this time we will be able to view the protective order. I know that not all assistant DAs in the office have been able, and I have not been able to view the protective order until I just learned this information. So I can't speak to what's in the order. So that will be able to be changed if there are ADAs who have matters that are in the posture that we are providing discovery and need to address these issues. ADAs will be able to look at the order. In addition, defense counsel, after the state court and defense counsel have signed a protective order, defense counsel will be able to have a copy of the July 21st order, as well as the December 2nd protective order. Those are sort of my updates as I'm receiving them now. And then the U.S. Attorney's Office has acknowledged that we need additional accommodations or modifications. I don't know the exact words that they would use, but we have additional requests in order to be able to move forward with cases in a productive manner. And they understand that we're going to continue to engage in dialogue with them and possibly the federal court about how to manage these situations.
Limu Limo at your service.
Come on, Liberty Bibbidi.
Here to help you save hundreds by customizing your car insurance with.
All right. Thank you for the update.
And I'll just add, the case that came down yesterday is distinguishable because in that matter, the SJC said that the DA's office did not have those materials, that federal materials perhaps a protective order, remain in the custody of the federal government. That case is distinguishable because a Worcester police officer participated in the interview and had personal knowledge that he could have discussed or disclosed to the ADA, that the ADA did not pursue that information that would have been held by a Worcester police officer. It is distinguishable that pursuant to this order, the materials do remain in the care, custody, and control of the federal government, and the DA's office is prohibited from any further disclosures.
So, but what of my suggestion with regard to your role?
That is a role I understand. That is a role I can represent to the court in a different matter. Upon my review of the materials, I saw a statement that was clearly exculpatory in a different case. I spoke to the U.S. Attorney's Office about that matter and had to advise defense counsel and trial prosecutor in the office that they needed to seek a TUI request.
Right.
I cannot disclose that directly. The U.S. Attorney's Office did not produce that outside the protective order. Defense counsel and the Commonwealth had to seek that information. I provided the date stamps numbers to counsel, and they had to go to the U.S. Attorney's Office.
But I'm suggesting that in this case, you do that first step.
And that, I would say, has been done, and it's sort of in a similar posture where we represented to counsel that you need to file a TUI request. Counsel filed a TUI request. The Commonwealth filed its own TUI request. The U.S. Attorney's Office denied that.
But the difference is, in the other case, you identified a document that you believed. What I'm asking the Commonwealth to do, and I'm asking you to do it now in light of the new rules of discovery, not the ones that may have applied when you did it the last time, is to review those materials and identify whether we even have something to worry about.
And the understanding would be trying to, without knowing the defense theory of the case and seeking the broadest, what is most fair to the defendant.
That's always your problem. I don't mean you. It's always the prosecution. That's, I mean, they make that argument, I don't know, a couple times a week before me when I'm sitting in a criminal session. They can't possibly do as good of a job as me. And yet you have to. That's what the rules require.
And I understand my obligations as a prosecutor to do that. It just becomes a difficult conundrum where if there was a matter, I cannot disclose it to defense counsel and I cannot disclose it to the court.
I understand that.
The order.
I understand that, but why is it not I don't want to say an easy first solution. It puts a huge burden on you. I don't know how much materials there are in there. But why isn't it the first step that we should be taking here is we have somebody assigned to this case that has access to those materials by virtue of the fact that you were assigned to the Reed case. And you have knowledge of this case by virtue of your affiliation with the case and your other stuff that I said. Why isn't the easy first step for everybody other than you in the courtroom who has to do the man hours for you to make that analysis and at an initial matter say there is or is not something in the materials that we need to disclose?
And I can represent to the court that the materials that were produced are related to the investigation of the death of John O'Keefe and not any materials related to the investigation of the death of Ana Walshe.
All right. Well, I appreciate that.
Pause this for a minute.
Short of.
Oh, yes. Yep.
So this is really wild.
Yep. Sure is.
This is wild, guys. I mean, this should be very alarming to everybody.
Sure is.
What in the world is crossing over between the death of John O'Keefe and the death of Ana Walshe? Right?
Well, I mean, aside from the investigators and aside from the district attorney's office that's prosecuting them, or aside from maybe there are federal investigations, maybe there are different players in the background. We're not exactly sure, but what she's saying is that she found that in the Karen Reed case or in the investigation of Officer John O'Keefe, and she's saying that there's something there, and what I'm supposed to do is this, and there's something here that I could give them. It's kind of like playing a game. It's like, hey, I have to give this to you, but I can't give it to you. So you need to find a workaround way where you could pass it between like 4 people, and then it gets to you. Where it's like, Julie, logic puzzles. Like, I'm going to give it to you, and then I'm going to give it to this one, and then I'm going to give it to this one, and then I'm going to give it to that one.
Well, let's unpack this a little bit for our audience because this is confusing. And so if we're confused, I can guarantee everybody else is confused. So I'm trying to think to where to even start to unpack this because this is
all right. Let's play this for like a minute because the judge kind of like she kind of explains it a little bit and clarifies because she gives an instruction to say like, hey, let's do this.
Is Brian Walshe in the courtroom?
Yeah, he is. Can you see my cursor? He is right.
Oh, there he is. Oh, yeah. Okay, I see.
Smug asshole.
Yeah,
that's my opinion. In my opinion.
Yeah, he is. He's a creep.
But all right, let's listen to
what I'm asking you to do, which is to avert to me, probably by affidavit, that there is or there is not information in. I understand their focus was on there. That doesn't mean that something doesn't make it records. And I want some assurance that somebody has laid eyes on those documents, if there's anything to do with this defendant in.
The offensive order says.
Well, the order allows you to review it, right? The order allows
state court action against Karen Reed.
This company is going viral for its new process that gives you permanent hours.
Guidance from the court with regard to for review.
I believe that is what ADABD has, and I believe there is ongoing discussions.
All right. We're headed to another meeting on this. I'm not going to put this out till the 30th. 30 days.
I'm certainly sympathetic to the position, and it's clear that she understands her obligations under Rule 14, under Brady. The cop in Goparian randomly happened to be present for a proffer on an unrelated case in which someone made a statement. So Goparian went on to specifically state that the law demands, at the very least, that the prosecutors ask other members of the prosecution team whether exculpatory information exists. So to me, that combined with Brady and combined with Goparian impose a duty for her to look. I understand that she is, and I agree, the 2 paragraphs on the protective order, I think, are very clear, but I don't think it's an automatic, just automatically resolves her or the rest of the team to just not look because they can't. So I think it's a long way of me saying we might have to end up litigating something in federal court. And so I think we do need to kind of figure if the motion, the protective order, can be expanded insofar as ADA McLaughlin has to do a specific review for this case, guided by the revised Mass Rules of Criminal Procedure, Section 14, that gives a very clear description of what, in fact, is considered exculpatory.
Your Honor, may I be heard briefly? I apologize for interrupting.
Julie, can you pause a second? Yep. So that's not good, because that means that this could push this trial way back into like 2026.
Oh, this thing isn't getting done anytime soon with the way that this is going. I mean, she just ruled on the motion to dismiss, but all this other crap that has to go on where they're saying, like, well, we have this and we have this and we have this, and all these other rulings, like they're trying to like hurry this along because of like, just like what the judge said, we have 30 days. And then, like you said, like another fire drill where it turns into like, oh my God, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? There could be something exculpatory, there could be not. And then like what the defense attorney just said about Law McGlaw, saying that she looked and she saw that there could potentially be something exculpatory, but she is saying that her parameters don't tell her to look at it or even like go through it and like double check. And what everyone's saying is like, take a look at it, because if there's something exculpatory there, he's like, the first thing they're going to do is if he gets found guilty, they're going to go run to the appeals court and go, look, see, they had something. Oh
yeah, they can't
check this. And that's
we have to sort this out. This has to be sorted out.
Absolutely. Yep.
Now that it's been, and who was airing this? How did?
So this was shown on the local channels, but this is the trial channel. The trial channel kind of truncated it. I mean, it's pretty much the whole entire thing because they didn't really stop and do sidebars. But the trial channel did this.
Okay.
I watched it on. Yep. Oh yeah, it's a trial channel. Trial channel is fantastic. She did the Rosemary Spigio one. She did the one that Emily showed. She's going to show the other stuff. Like Fox 25 used it. NBC 10 showed the one today, and they had a follow up to this today because they're basically saying like, hey, what do we do? Like they talked to the the person who's representing the Commonwealth to the feds, like basically like as their intermediary, saying like, hey, I'm the attorney to kind of like figure out like, these are the protective orders. It can't show to anybody else, but shown to us. It's shown to us, so we have to. It's like a game of telephone. Like, okay, we talked to this person, and they're telling you to do this. Okay, well, I did this, and now I'm going to talk to this person. I'm telling you to do this. Okay, well, I talked to this person. Like, what are we doing? Like, it's so complicated. But this is the type of shit that you run into when you don't do your jobs the right way, and evidence comes out in like the most screwed up fashion. Like, this is all because the feds were watching, like they were doing an investigation of the investigation, and they looked into some of the investigators, one of which was former trooper Michael Proctor, and some stuff came out, and it's ready to be destroyed, and all these people looking, saying, hey, give us this because, like, we want to make sure that you didn't find something that we were supposed to have, or that we have something that you, like, you know, it's almost like the left hand doesn't know what the right hand's talking about, and then they get there and it's like, oh, you weren't even speaking the same language. So this is the so they to you. I just want to
the issues that we are in communication
this
with the
is
U.S. Attorney's
okay.
Office, and I can promise the court that I can address this specific case and this specific request that this court is making at this time when I speak with them, if you would give us some additional time.
I will, and I appreciate you specifically raising this, because I think we have, I don't want to get, particularly in light of the schedule in this case, I don't want to get dragged down with the other cases that are not in a similar posture. The unique situation here is that A.D. McLaughlin has already seen the materials. It's not disclosure to any, she saw them in connection with another task, but it's not like a new person is coming on or a new set of people are coming on at this moment. So that might give us a swifter direction to a better result. So I'll give you some time to see if we can sort that out.
Thank you very much.
All right.
And I think that's it. Yeah. So, all right. So they're basically talking about, so basically they're like, okay, Law McLaws is here. She's the ADA who works with this team here. And she is representing Brian Walshe. Now, because she worked on the Reed case, she had other stuff that came in with like we're not sure who exactly it is, if it's Tully, if it's Proctor, if it's all these guys, but she's seen it. And it's like, she has to keep the secret, but she can only, tell somebody if she goes with the middle person, which is the middle lady. And so the judge is basically saying, like, can we go through, because it looks like there's something there. We don't want this to go to get turned over on appeal if it gets to that. So they had a hearing today, and the judge, it was supposed to be like a quick update to say, like, hey, what's going on with this material. The judge went up there and said, okay, well, the feds assigned, or I'm sorry, the person to represent the Commonwealth is the person that I may have a conflict with, because he was a mentor and I worked with this person. So I'm not sure if you guys are okay with that. Defense team, I'll give you a chance to say, like, hey, do you want me to recuse? Do you just want me to recuse for the stuff that deals with the federal protected materials? Commonwealth, do you want me to recuse and figure out what's going on there? Now, it seemed like a lot of people lost their mind hearing that, where they're going like, oh my God, they want her off the case. They want Bev on the case. They're trying to do shenanigans. They want, and then the defense said, well, they want this move because she is a judge in Plymouth County. This happened in Norfolk County, but I'm not sure if the defense wants to move this to like the Berkshires, like way out in the western part of the state or somewhere else. So they want to move this. And now they're saying like, well, does, maybe the judge needs to recuse for certain parts of this. We're not sure. So like it just turned into like this like big cluster even more so. So it sounds like they're still in the process of trying to get this material, but it's just this big mess. So who knows what's going to come of this? I mean, we're I'm going to have eyes on this. The local stations have eyes on this.
Oh yeah.
That Rose-based speech is going on, because this is a big deal. I mean, it sucks that it takes this point, but at least there are eyes on this looking at this. And at least there are news outlets that are showing this, because we need to be able to see what happens in courtrooms. Now, if you do things not by the standards of ethics, now again, I went to school for math and science. I don't know, well, I mean, I know ethics, but I don't know the first thing about journalism and how you do stuff. But I don't think that if someone gets on the horn and says, hey, we're not broadcasting this, take it down. Like unless you were given permission, you don't have our permission to, air this. And then they get the whole entire thing taken down. Like that's like the, like this is why we can't have nice things type element.
Right.
Like we all want to see what's going on here. But if you're going to get streams sniped because of, egos or bullshit or anything else, like then we all lose. So people need to do better. That's all I'm going to say about that. So that's what happened with Brian Walshe land.
Yeah. Well, let me pull. I'm going to share my screen now for a minute, and we're going to take a look at a couple of things here. Hang on a second. I got to go back to share the screen. I just want to a couple news reports that came out that we can share with everybody. First, before we do that, let me just quick pull this up. So I don't know if you guys saw this, but while it's hard, I know it's hard to see because it's small, but this is Aiden on this has to do with Aiden on his vacation. Let me just read you what it says. And I'm sure most of you saw this, but it just says, is Ben Affleck playing Turtle Boy in the movie deal? Ben Affleck and Karen Reed. Is that possible? So he was on vacation, I guess, over at the beach, I think at the Cape, right, Julie?
Yeah, he's down the Cape.
And so and then he posted a photo of himself with Ben Affleck. I thought, well, that's interesting. How did that come to be, right? So, mean, I saw in the post that his mother, I think, or his grandmother.
Yeah, he has family down there. Yeah,
he has family down there, right? So, but there's a lot of people there on any given weekend, especially in the heat of the summer here, the height of the summer. So I was a little surprised. I don't think they just ran into each other, right? So maybe there is some truth to everybody's hypotheses that could Ben be playing I don't see Ben in that role. I mean, I don't see him in that role at all. If anything, I see Ben as like Yannetti, or I see Ben pulling off Yannetti, or maybe even pulling off Hank. I don't know. Okay, so let me bring up some of these stories. Let me bring up a little something here that might help us. First, I have to let me click on it first and see what it gives us. Is it showing up in let's see if I can get it to show up the way I want it to, or I might have to go back out of that and reshare a different window. Is that showing up now? Yeah. Okay. It's okay.
Yes, but we can't hear it.
Yep. I know. I'm trying to unmute it. If it's going to let me, I have to allow it first of all. I'll allow
Attorney Michael Sullivan to represent them in connection with their dealings with the United States Attorney.
Let me rewind that. Okay. I'm trying to get it.
The judge in the Brian Walshe case disclosing a potential conflict that she has regarding a new member of the prosecution's team.
The Commonwealth has chosen Attorney Michael Sullivan to represent them in connection with their dealings with the United States Attorney's Office. And that choice of an attorney is a mentor of mine and a friend of mine.
Oh boy.
Well, the judge says she's confident she can remain objective, but wanted to leave the final decision on whether to get a new judge up to the parties involved. Walshe is charged with killing and dismembering his wife, Ana Walshe, in 2023. Her body has never been found. Walsh's trial is set to begin October 20th.
Yeah, this trial is not going to begin in October.
No way.
Along here. This evening by Chief Strong of the Everett Police Department, Mayor Carlos Maria.
That's the DA of Middlesex.
William Donahue from the State
about?
Police assigned to our office, as well as our Chief of Homicide Assistant District Attorney Adrian Lynch. I'm going to walk through first a series of events, some of which I know you already know. I'll then talk to you a little bit about the charges at this point, as well as our plans going forward, and then I'll take a few questions. All right?
Hang on, I'm just checking.
The information we have right now indicates that this series of events began around 12:45 this afternoon. Medford Police Department received a phone call relative to an individual who was at a Sunoco station and was acting erratically. That person was later identified as Admilson Vizcano of Everett. That individual left the gas station in a black Chevy SUV before the police arrived in response to that call that had been made.
Are you aware of this, Julie?
No, that's what I'm checking to see if it's live. I don't know what this is.
I'm trying to figure out what this is too, because it just popped up in connection because I was it just says I don't know what it is either, but it looks like it was from today. So let me roll it and see what this is about. Hang on a sec. I got to get back to it now.
Yeah, that's Middlesex.
Medford Police Department put out what's called a BOLO, a be on the lookout for that
I'm trying to get it to
Chevrolet.
open up again. Hang on a second.
At about 1 o'clock,
now. It's not letting
Stoneham Police Department attempted to pull
time out. I don't know why it's not letting me go back to where I was.
This must be something big if the district attorney of Middlesex comes out and makes a statement.
I'm trying to get it to go back big, but I'm I'm struggling now. For some reason, I clicked something I shouldn't have clicked, and it made it small. So hang on a second. Let me go back, see if I can get it. So I've got to go back to where I was, which was this. I was this video. Hang on a second. Okay, let's see what happens if I get through this. I clicked right over for me. So hang on.
Walsh's trial is set to begin October 20th.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah, there you go.
is taking us right to this story because it knows we're interested in
along here.
Massachusetts.
I am joined this evening by Chief Strong of the Everett Police Department, Mayor Carlos Di Maria of Everett, Detective Lieutenant Lease assigned to our office, as well as our Chief of Homicide Assistant. I'm going to walk through first a series of events, some of which I know you already know. I'll then talk to you a little bit about the charges and our plans going forward, and then I'll take a few questions. The information we have right now indicates that this series of events began around 12:45 this afternoon. Medford Police Department received a phone call relative to an individual who was at a Sunoco station and was acting erratically. That person was later identified as Admilson Vizcano of Everett. That individual left the gas station in a black Chevy SUV before the police arrived in response to that call that had been made. Medford Police Department put out what's called a BOLO, a be on the lookout for that particular Chevrolet. At about 1 o'clock, Stoneham Police Department attempted to pull that car over and were unsuccessful in being able to stop the car. An hour later, about 2 o'clock, that car was at a 7-Eleven in Billerica, and there was a report that a shoplifting had taken place at the 7-Eleven.
So you went up 93.
At about 3:15, Malden police received a phone call from a family member of Mr. Vizcano indicating that he was then in Malden. As the officers arrived at that location, Mr. Vizcano was leaving again in that black SUV. Malden police began to follow that car, but eventually lost track of the car when it entered the city of Everett. And they had notified Everett that that car was en route. Mr. Vizcano then crashed that SUV on Broadway here in Everett.
So he came back.
Shortly above the intersection where we are now.
That's not good.
He drove the car for a short distance until it became completely disabled. At that point, he was attempting to gain entry into some other cars that were in traffic. He was unsuccessful at getting himself into another car at that point. State police were responding, and at that point, the car had come to a final rest. He tumbled from that car and was surrounded by the troopers that had arrived. Inside that vehicle, upon later examination, was a container of gasoline, which the suspect had been seen carrying on video at the 7-Eleven back in Billerica. Now, not having an operable vehicle, the suspect began approaching a number of vehicles that were leaving the driveway of the entrance that you see behind you. When he was unsuccessful in gaining access to any of those vehicles, he continued out onto the road, crossed on the other side to a number of vehicles. Along the way, a cigarette lighter was dropped into the road. Police officers were attempting to approach and
Introducing
de-escalate what was
Flow,
happening.
the world's first.
Eventually, Mr. Vizcano came up to a dump truck, a Republic dump truck, trash truck that had been stopped at the light immediately to my left. As he came up to that, there was both a passenger and a driver inside. The passenger was able to get himself out and opened the door despite after a struggle with the driver. He got himself into the driver's seat, was attempting to climb across the driver of that car. At that point, both state police and an Everett police officer had approached that door. They were attempting to get the driver out of the truck. Shots were fired at that point. Several shots were fired. And the driver was safely extracted from the truck. Mr. Vizcano then got in and began operating that vehicle, taking off along Broadway, driving for about a half mile, causing a variety of instances of property damage along the way, striking light poles, fire hydrants, and other things, before finally approaching the bridge, going up onto the sidewalk. One of the state troopers had attempted to use stop sticks in attempting to flat the tires of the truck as it was fleeing from this area. At some point, the truck ultimately was disabled and came to rest on the top of the bridge.
Good
Mr. Viscano
God.
was again approached by the troopers and Everett officers and eventually taken from the truck. He was transported to a nearby hospital where he remains in critical condition.
Jesus.
He is presently to be charged with 4 counts of attempted armed carjacking, 2 counts of armed carjacking, assault, armed assault with intent to rob, and various motor vehicle charges, including leaving the scene of property damage. He'll be arraigned at a later date, obviously dependent on his health situation. Those are essentially the facts as we know them at this point. We are fairly early in the investigation. I'm going to turn it over to Chief Strong to speak a little bit about this area, about the officer, and about the impact of what happened today. And then I'll be happy to take a few questions. Chief?
Wow. Okay, so that's a lot of information. So I knew that they shot at somebody who tried to steal a truck.
So do you know, where is this, Julie? Where did I found it interesting that it just popped it up on our screen because it knew we were watching something to do with Massachusetts, and it just boom gave it to us. So
yeah. So I saw this earlier, but I just saw that it was like I read the headline. It was a man in Everett, which is just right outside of city of Boston. It's like northwest of the city of Boston. It's closer to Charlestown.
Right.
It's closer to Charlestown. It's on the north, I guess, the north side of the city. Charlestown, Malden, Chelsea, East Boston. It's by where, kind of sort of where James Jackson is. He's in, But anyways, so the way that the heading was that somebody got it, like somebody carjacked a trash truck, and the police shot at him. I was like, oh, that seems like a lot. But this seems like this guy went on a magical mystery tour. Like he started here and he got gas and went up to like you could pick up 93 north, which is the big highway, the interstate highway. He must have gone north for some reason, decided to drive to Stoneham and Billerica, got gas, and then drove back and did God knows what. So it sounds like he literally, and then went on Broadway, which is a main street. And yeah, there's parking on either side. There's traffic, there's stores. So he probably just tore up all that. So, and and they said that he was shot. So I mean, who knows if he's gonna make it or not? But it seems like he went on a joyride.
Oh yeah, he definitely went on a joyride. But he wondered what happened to him, right? All right, I have one more video to show on Brian Walshe that had to do, I want to stop it so I can get it up here for you guys. One more, and then we can go on to our next topic for the night. Let me share my screen with you guys again. Stop screen, and then I have to share screen.
That's I forget her name. She has an Irish name. I forget her actual name, but she's been a DA there for a long time.
Mm-hmm. Okay, this is just one last little clip I have on Brian Walshe updates. This is from Boston 10.
Boston Chief Legal Analyst Michael Coyne, and we have some updates for you about the Walshe case ahead of trial. There have been some decisions that have been released by presiding judge Bernier in this case that have to do with some very crucial evidence that prosecutors want to present at trial. So Michael, thanks again for joining us. We saw these decisions come down very recently from the judge. What can you tell us about what she decided regarding this evidence?
Well, it's almost a complete victory for the government straight across the board when you talk about the evidence uncovered as a result of the searches made, both the consensual searches as well as the searches that were conducted with an authorized search warrant. So all of the searches that the government found with respect to how to dispose of a body and the best way to limit the smell of a decomposing body, just a ton of information with respect to his Google searches that were conducted between Christmas time and New Year's. And then an awful lot of information that they uncovered with respect to his visits to Home Depot to obtain paraphernalia that would be used to destroy the body, as well as items from Home Goods and the like, where he purchased rugs to, at least as the government would see it, to help dispose of the body. So if those searches and that information, that evidence was not allowed in, the government would have had a significant time trying to prove guilt beyond all reasonable doubt. The defendant won a few of the challenges on their motion to suppress the GPS tracker on the mother's vehicle. But again, what the court really honed in on here is highly incriminating evidence that the government will now be able to offer.
Yeah, so we were just talking last week about this, that, what could happen if these Google searches that made such big headlines when this case really started, if those weren't allowed, what would that mean for the case? But we know now that the judge is going to allow those Google searches, but for a while that was in question. So what can you tell us about how the judge made up her mind to allow these searches? Because we talked about the defense's argument that these were out of the scope of what Brian Walshe gave consent to the authorities to search. So how did she kind of make up her mind that no, these Google searches can be allowed to be presented in court?
Well, what she really did is go through extensively the facts. She had a couple of days of evidentiary hearings. The audio transcripts from the interviews were received in evidence. The testimony was taken not just from law enforcement, but from his counsel at the time to really try to be able to dig deep into what the actual facts were. With respect to the consent of the search, and as well as whether probable cause existed at the time for the search warrants that the court had authorized. So it's quite a detailed decision, two quite detailed decisions with respect to the consent, first of all. And what she's saying there with respect to the consent is that the consent was limited to the period from December 25th forward through January 7th or thereabouts. But it wasn't really limited as to what they could extract from the phone at that point, because it was intended as a complete data dump. And there is conflicting evidence with respect to whether that was the full amount of the consent or whether he was limiting it to communications. But she credited some testimony and discredited others. And that's her right with respect to a factual determination as to the scope of the consent. What she says is that if anyone were to turn over their phone and we're told that it's going to be a data dump in essence, then you have some reasonable expectation, and a normal, ordinary person would, that there's going to be an awful lot of information that is uncovered as a result of that. And even she quotes the defendant as saying, well, geez, you're asking for an awful lot of personal information within.
Yes, she did.
And that ultimately is what she decided that, in fact, was authorized, is while the period of time was limited, and the period of time was also understood to not include, even within that period, attorney-client communications or spousal communications, marital privilege information. Everything else was fair game. And that's, in fact, what she ultimately authorized. She also said that you can't consider communications when we're talking about the iPad, because the iPad was never intended to be communications. And a number of the Google searches with respect to the ones that are most incriminating that would indicate a plan to kill her and then a plan to dispose of the body, which gets us to the first-degree murder charge.
Yep.
Is that is on the son's iPad. And when you're turning over the iPad, she finds that you wouldn't have intended that to be phone calls and the like. And so she found that relatively important with respect to communications did not just include conversations with individuals. It included all forms of searches, communications, anything that would be found within that time. And it's an awful lot of very, very powerful evidence that supports the government's case.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and we've talked extensively about how this case does rely on a lot of circumstantial and digital evidence, given that Ana's body was never recovered. So it's easy to assume that the defense was really hoping that this evidence wasn't going to be presented at trial. But now that we know that it will be presented by the state, how do you feel that this decision will impact how the defense prepares for this trial over the coming weeks?
Well, I think one thing is they'll have to try and think about whether this makes sense to try and resolve it by way of a plea. I'm not so sure that the government would be satisfied with any resolution short of him spending the rest of his life in prison, likely without the benefit of parole. So I'm not so sure there's an advantage to him to plea it at that point. But when you do look at it, he has to be really thunderstruck with respect to the case they make circumstantially by way of that he did dispose of her body. I found remarks that were after the fact that when he went to visit his mother in Swampscott, they've got detailed tracking information with respect to him visiting 3 different dumpsters during that period on video, where he appears to be disposing of something quite heavy into one of the dumpsters. Also visited 2 additional dumpsters that day, one on the South Shore and one elsewhere. Yep. So that does certainly raise the alarm that he's just trying surreptitiously to dispose of something important to him, and he's doing it in such a way that would show some type of consciousness of guilt, I think, to a lot of people. And that's just that piece of evidence. There's all of this other stuff that predates it, and some of the.
Thank you. See, that's what I thought originally. I mean, that was a fantastic breakdown. But to hear, that's what I thought originally, that he dropped something around here on the North Shore, and then one was the Rockland dump and somewhere else on the South Shore. And so they checked all the dumps of the South Shore. I don't think that they checked anywhere up here on the North Shore, and they're saying that he's on video and like has GPS around here for.
It's just awful. It's absolutely awful. And
I mean, there's plenty of places, around. Like there's Salem Woods, Swampscott's Wooded, Marblehead's Wooded. There's the ocean. Like there's so many places that you could, go. And if they have them on video and they may or may not have even checked, like if they just checked South Shore and it's like, well, said, well, the hell with it.
I know.
That's interesting. But yeah, I mean, there's just so much. And I mean, I think with some of it, they kind of finagled the bagel, because I read the quote too from, I think it was Chico that was questioning him in, and it was like, well, he kept asking for his lawyer, because this guy was also in trouble. He was a forger, and he was in trouble with a civil suit, or I think it was civil, where he forged the painting, and that's the lawyer he was talking to. Where they kept saying like, hey, can we have your phone? It was like, well, I don't know. I mean, I have communication with my lawyer. I think I better talk to my lawyer. It's like, yeah, we'll give it back to you. We're just going to talk about this. We won't listen to that stuff. It was like, yeah, but like I want to help, but I don't, and like kept going back and forth. But then like he consented, but then like he kind of takes it back. And I think that's where she was reading like, well, you consented, so here it is. So, but he was kind of like going back and forth. But yeah, I mean, it's like, I think they finagle a bagel, because like, it's obvious, like in my opinion, looking at this, it looks like these guys effed up, but like, you don't want people like that walking around, and like, you got to do justice. Like, it's such a crappy place to be, but.
Well, it really shows you though, what a fine line there is with evidence and search warrants. And I mean, there's, like I said, from my past experience with domestic violence, homicide, and working with survivors of attempted domestic violence, homicide, this guy absolutely premeditated the demise of his beautiful wife. And regardless of what their marital issues were or problems were, I do believe there was years of domestic violence. If you look, let me put this back up again. If you look at this photo, I think that there's some evidence that Ana was trying to tell family members, and that she did tell family members and friends that she was in a domestic violence situation. And if you look above her eye, if you see my pointer, I mean, this looks like a healing bruise. It looks like someone smacked her in the face. right there on her eyebrow.
Yep.
There's like a
Yep.
bruise there, and it's definitely healing. I'm sure it was much uglier and horrible before. It's just like I said, it's just an absolute travesty that these women, what they go through in their domestic violence relationships. And the question that's always asked of so many domestic violence survivors is, why did you stay? Why did you stay with this man who demeans you, hurts your feelings, puts you down, talks behind your back, cheats on you, yells at you every day, makes you feel lesser than, strikes you, hits you? And there is no good answer for this, because unless it's happening to you and you know what it feels like to be in love with someone who suddenly turns on you, because these guys don't show this face to these ladies when they're dating them. They don't show this side of the Dr. and Jekyll and Mr. Hyde when they're first married. This is a very slow process that takes place over years. And that once you have children involved and property involved, and there's so many reasons that women can convince themselves that they have to stay with this person. Many of them stay out of fear for their children's well-being, because they're terrified of, if they divorce this person, what are they going to do to my children? Are they going to keep them from me? Am I going to have to fight for custody? Some women are stay-at-home moms and they don't have any means to support themselves. They've given up their careers to raise their children. There are so many answers to that question, why did you stay? But we can never judge why a woman stays with an abusive man, because unless it's happening to us, we do not know what that feels like. And just the simple fact that he, premeditated this, and that he threatened her in the past. And then they in my mind, they do have evidence. They said they have blood evidence. That's not just circumstantial. I mean, it is, in the sense that we don't have her body. And so what are they claiming? That she just disappeared herself, that she just decided to run away and go hide somewhere and become a new person? I mean, really? They tried to accuse Jennifer Dulos of that, Fotis Dulos and his girlfriend, that she was like a Gone Girl scenario from that movie Gone Girl. That is just utterly despicable and disgusting. I mean, can it happen? Sure, but it's not what happened to Jennifer Dulos. And Fotis Dulos was also seen in surveillance, like I said, with Michelle Troconis in the truck with him, dumping garbage bags all around the city. Like, why would someone do that, right? What is their reasoning for that? What if they're like cleaning out their garage or cleaning out their attic or their office? They would just go to one location to put everything, right? It's like one of the key signs that someone has unalived someone, and they're trying to get rid of all the evidence by putting it at all different areas so that it would be almost impossible to find. So it's just really, it's horrible and terrible. And it's a tough subject that we had to talk about tonight, but we want justice for Ana Walshe, and her family wants justice, and her friends and colleagues and everyone who knows her. And the entire state of Massachusetts should want justice for this woman, and to make, to follow this case along and see that he goes to trial and that a jury of his peers convicts him. I hope to God that that's what happens. But I think we're looking at a long haul here on this now, Julie, just by what you showed us today. And this whole bizarre, I mean, so when did this first come out, that there was this issue with some type of evidence that hibernates over to the Karen Read, John O'Keefe? When did this first come out? Do you know?
So this came out, this officially came out. So there were kind of rumblings with the Karen Read stuff where between trial 1 and trial 2, with stuff with Proctor, and then all the text messages came out, and they said, well, wait a second, hang on a second. Why are they showing Stevie Nicks? Something happened? They better not have.
What's happening?
Hang on. I don't know, they're showing Stevie Nicks and I get nervous.
Oh,
okay. That, I don't think that had anything to do with Stevie Nicks, but okay.
You were worried something bad happened to our wonderful Stevie Nicks?
Yes, and I get very, very, very nervous. I'm sorry.
We can't have well, something totally off topic, by the way. While we've been live streaming tonight, my really good friend George, who's been a family friend for years, like a brother from another mother, he lives in Dallas, Texas, and my sister and I have a group thread with him, and we keep in touch. We mostly talk sports. I'm going to be honest, we don't talk a lot of true crime, but it's mostly all sports talk, and just life talk. But he knows that I live stream, and he wrote to me at 9:56 Eastern, and he said, watching Dateline on NBC, and the story is about a friend of mine, a teacher at Olney High School, was unalived. And I said, oh my gosh, that's just so bizarre. And I said, I'm going to have to try to catch that on replay somehow. And I said, maybe you should come on live with Julie and I and tell us about it. And he said he really doesn't know that much about the case. He said it happened shortly after he moved back to Dallas from Wisconsin. And I guess, pardon?
Is it in Texas? I got it up here.
Yes.
Hang on.
Yes.
I'll read it to you. It says Dateline NBC, season 32. Sorry. Season 32, episode 5. The footprint at the lake. A small Texas town is shattered when a beloved teacher vanished from her home in the middle of the night. A gruesome discovery made a short time later leaves investigators with more questions than answers. This is airing now, 9:00 NBC.
Does it say that they found her?
This is from 2 years ago, October 13th, 2023.
Right. That's what George said, that it, so many nefarious things happened in 2022 and 2023. It's stunning almost. So I'll update you guys next week on Friday Night Lies. I'll watch it, and then I'll maybe grab some clips, and then ask my friend George a little bit more about this person, and let you know about it. But I thought it was really kind of bizarre that he was watching this while right in the middle of our live stream. And he actually knew this person and taught with this person at this Olney High School, which is a kind of a subdivision, I think a suburb of Dallas. Wow. So that's horrible. More horrible going on. So, well, we're going to have a lot more to discuss where Brian Walshe and the justice for Ana Walshe is concerned. And we'll make sure, and keep you guys abreast of the situation and what's happening with the evidence and the trial. And of course, this bizarre thing that's going on now with this, something we don't know about, because they can't tell us. So all we can do, I don't want to guess or even surmise, because there's no way to know what this could possibly be. How is it possible that the two cases are even threaded at all in any way, shape, or form?
Well, yes. So that's just it. So basically, so like right when stuff came out in trial one, saying that the feds were investigating the investigation of what happened here, and then all the stuff about Proctor came out, and he was forced to read his messages, and they said, oh my God, where did you get all this information? If this person is saying all this other stuff, what is he doing with these other cases? So then all these other cases that he worked on, all their attorneys said, hey, we want the same thing. And so they went to they went through the process and went through the state and was like, hey, we want search like subpoena his phone, subpoena his records, subpoena this, subpoena that. So then when trial 2 for Karen Reed was finished, they had 30 days. The feds, any information that the feds gave had to be destroyed or had to be dealt with or destroyed within 30 days. So I guess it was day 28, 29. All the attorneys got word like, oh, by the way, we're going to destroy this tomorrow. We'll hold a court hearing, but we're going to destroy it tomorrow. If you want a chance to, say your piece so that you can make a request and potentially have a continuance, say your piece. And so everybody went up there and jumped up and down and said, give us this. You didn't give us time. What the hell are you doing? So they went up and said, okay, well, we don't know if the feds are going to, comply, but let's see if the feds are going to comply. So they went and they said like, okay, well, there's a lot of stuff here. You guys make a request. We'll give you, I think they gave him 30 days, and it was 3 weeks from like whatever they said. And so that's when Rosemary Scapiccio was up there saying, well, we have 3 weeks. So we're going to see if we can get this. And in the meantime, we're going to see if we can get subpoena. We're going to see if we can get Proctor to come up here and say, hey, what the hell are you doing here? Give me this, because we need to see if the feds got it, to see if it matches, see if we can get this. What is it? Is it exculpatory, like what we saw in Brian Walshe, where you had one of the prosecutors on the Karen Reed case, trial 1, and sat there for trial 2, but was there so that she was privy to that information. But it's saying like, okay, well, I have this here, I can't give it to them, and the feds need to tell me what to do. So until then, I'm going to sit here quietly until you tell me what to do. And so the judge said was like, hey, do something, because you saw this. It sounds like it could be exculpatory. We need to do something. And so she's like, well, I'm going to sit here until you tell me what to do. It's like, okay,
The
well, I'm
word
telling you, go talk to these
exculpatory,
guys.
well, the word exculpatory, I think, kind of confuses a lot of us because
Well, that's what Laura McLaughlin said too. She's like, well, I don't know what's exculpatory. I mean, exculpatory to me might be exculpatory to them, and I can't look as well as them. So I gotta like, she's basically kind of sort of passing the buck, but she's basically saying like, well, I don't know, so therefore I'm not gonna do anything. Like that's like the loud, like, well, I sent him an email and.
But that word leads us to believe that this person could be exonerated.
Well, maybe. I mean, it depends on what it's exculpatory of, but yeah, sure.
You know what I mean?
You still need to do your due diligence too, right? Well, I mean, that's like with the Bradel stuff. Look what happened with Bradel, who is, like when is it? Next month, September 15th, he's going to find out his fate,
right?
With the bar. So, but that's exactly what happened there. They had exculpatory information showing like there's no way this guy could have possibly done this, and he's like, well.
So the one thing that I was relieved about was, while we were watching that interview, was that that they are going to allow
that they're going to allow the searches,
which he did on his son's iPad because he thought he was being all slick, and thank goodness, because that was terrifying me, because that is huge evidence, right? Circumstantial, nonetheless, because they don't have her body, they haven't recovered her remains. But if they couldn't have used that, to me, that would have been so scary, and that could have really led to a jury saying we don't have it. We've got reasonable doubt now without that, and especially, I mean, it's so like mafia style, right? With like the rolling up of the body in a rug. I mean, it's just so horrible. It's just so horrible. And thank you, Shauna. You're so sweet. You weren't with us at the beginning. This is my new hat I picked up at a truck stop on the way home from Virginia Beach after my long trek to Wisconsin and back. But I wanted a new hat. I haven't gotten myself one in a while, and I just ran across this one for $9, and it says Myrtle Beach on it, and it's got this little palm tree. I was at the exit for Myrtle Beach, but it was like 105 degrees. I've never seen Myrtle Beach in person, so I really wanted to drive over and just go, hey, Myrtle Beach, I'm here. Nice to see you. But it was 105, and it was an extreme heat advisory. So I had gotten off at this truck stop to walk Tanner, and we walked as quick as we could, and then we zoomed into the air conditioning of the truck stop just to take a long break out of the car and a stretch break and get something to eat. And this was the only one left. The other hats I didn't really like, so I got lucky. It was a $9 fine. This is probably at least a $25 hat over at Myrtle Beach, right? So I feel pretty fortunate about that. Thank you, Shauna. And I do love this color. I have a swimsuit this color, so I'm pretty excited about my new find. But it's almost football season, so I'll be wearing my Badger, my USC Trojans, my Packers, my Kansas City Chiefs hats. I'll be wearing those a lot during the fall live streaming, so I thought I'd better get in my Myrtle Beach light blue summer hat while I can. So thank you so much, Shauna. You're always so sweet. And speaking of Shauna, I want to go back to that, because any final thoughts right now for Brian Walshe and Justice for Ana Walshe, Julie?
For those guys, no. I have a quick. Well, I have a clip for the Karen Reed stuff and the federal stuff, but that's
well. Let me go. So I just want to, Shauna, I just wanted to praise you again for talking me down off the ladder this week when I talked about this a little bit at the beginning, Shauna, about how I'm not happy with this kind of hate campaign that's going on again on Twitter, X, and Facebook by certain people that shouldn't be re-bringing anything up. It should be just, it's a done deal. It's over and done with. The two sides are never going to agree as to who said what to who and why. And I know the truth, and I'm living in my truth, but I don't need to revisit that with these people, and I'm not going to. But I did make comments about how we have to be careful what we read on social media, that we can't just believe things that people say about other people. It's unfair to do that. So you have to do your due diligence. And I've always invited people to come right to the source if they have any questions, if they had any interest at all in this ridiculous drama that went on last January and February on Twitter X, involving some other live streamers. They could come to me at any time, and I have nothing to hide. I truth matters, #truth matters, right? So I appreciated Shauna's advice this week, but you were speaking to me, Shauna, about something really interesting. Can you, my dear, will you type that in the chat box? I'm searching for it and I don't want to misquote you, but you were talking about something to do with wounds, like wound healing. And you just made, I'm looking for it right now, guys. So give me a second. You made just such a great comment about, really not taking to heart what other people say about you behind your back. And it's kind of like that old saying, what people say about me behind my back is none of my business. I like that one. But sometimes people accuse you of doing things you didn't do. And that's not something you can stand for. You have to defend yourself when that kind of crap goes on. You really don't have a choice, because you don't want that to be out there in the world, even if it's only to a couple thousand followers or a couple more thousand followers, whatever the case may be. But these 3 content creators that were spreading rumors about people and saying untruths each have approximately 8,000 followers each. So I'm back in January and February, I was doing the math. Okay, that's 24,000 people that I don't want thinking I did something I didn't do. So my little brain was clicking, and that's why I decided to defend myself back in January and February, and kind of call these people on the carpet for their behavior. Now, for whatever reason, I don't even understand right now, they brought it back up again. And I find it to be ridiculous and idiotic to do that. It doesn't serve any purpose. It doesn't help anyone. And so hopefully they're not going to be speaking my name out of their mouths anytime soon, because I don't want to be involved in this again. But I will defend myself. That's just it. I don't have the kind of personality that can just say, oh, well, they're not very nice people, I'll just ignore them. That's just not in my DNA. So when somebody says lies about me, I'm going to defend myself, and that's that. So we'll see what happens. But I'm looking, Shauna, for when you were trying to give me your advice. I'm struggling to find it. So I know you know the words you used, and I can't find it. It was like woundology, right, Shauna? It was something like that. You were talking about it, and it was so interesting when you explained this to me, and I'm trying to find it because it was a very good, amazing thing that you told me. So if you have any memory of this, I would love for you to type it in the chat box right now, the advice that you gave to me, because we have a huge text thread that we talk between Shauna and Julie and myself, where we discuss what we're going to talk about on Friday Night Lies, and we talk about things that are going on in all these cases that we're following. And I'm struggling to find it, and I might have to wait till next Friday now if Shauna's not able to type it for us, because it was really good, and I appreciated it a lot. So give me one more second. Julie, what do you have left to end our night out with? You want to talk a little bit about Karen Reed's motion?
Well, it kind of sort of relates to, I think, why all this is happening and kind of what happened today. This is from Ted Daniels yesterday.
Do you have it for me to add to the stage?
Yep.
Okay, I am bringing it up right now. Did it come up? Oh, wait. Hang on a second. I have to remove what's up here. Stand by. It'll come up as soon as I remove it. Technical stuff. There we go.
Okay. So this is so Ted Daniel had this out. A couple people were talking about this online. This is talking to Karen Reed's. Karen Reed made motions to get back some of her belongings, like her car and her phone. Then they made another motion to get back 2 additional phones that were taken in a different an investigation related to the John O'Keefe investigation. So we'll play this.
I'm investigative reporter Ted Daniel. 3 phones and a Lexus valued at about $60,000. State police took those items from Karen Reed. Now that her criminal case is done, she wants them back.
I put a call in to the Norfolk DA's office and inquired about getting back the personal cell phone as well as the car. When I didn't hear back after a month, it was time to, have to file a motion and let a judge order the items to be returned.
That's Steve Buzang. The Dedham-based attorney recently joined Reed's legal team. On Monday, Boston 25 reported that Buzang filed a motion or legal request to get Reed's Lexus SUV and one phone returned. We've since learned of a second request Buzang filed to get 2 additional phones belonging to Reed. State police took those in January 2024 while attempting to indict Reed and Aiden Carney, a.k.a. Turtle Boy, on new witness intimidation charges. As we previously reported, a grand jury blocked the indictment.
They returned no bill, meaning there was no evidence whatsoever that Karen Reed, or Aiden Kearney had committed any crimes. So I'm bewildered why those phones weren't turned back over immediately.
You've never received a rationale or response saying, hey, we're keeping them for this reason or another?
Well, I think the civil lawyers may have some interest in it. The civil lawyers can fight in another case if they want phones or cars or anything.
John O'Keefe's family has filed a wrongful death suit against Reed. That's the civil case attorney Buzang is referring to. I asked DA Michael Morrissey's office why the items haven't been returned to Reed, if there are any protocols for doing that. The response, no comment. I'm investigative reporter Ted Daniel for your local station, Boston 25 News.
No comment. That's very interesting to me. So no comment. They didn't say, yeah,
Right.
we'll get on that. They didn't not make a statement or say like, oh, he wasn't there to comment or he's not making a comment. Comment
Right.
was no comment.
Interesting, right? Why?
Imagine making $453,000.
Right.
Well, so then all the YouTuber, all the law tubers were out kind of speculating like, well, what does this mean? And who was it? I know Melanie mentioned, well, if there's something else going on, we would have seen something, or they would have mentioned it. If this is for the civil trial, then they can go ahead and make motions like we want it back. But if they wanted to keep this for the civil trial, they could make this either for Karen Reed's team could make a motion, or the O'Keefes could make a motion to say, hey, give us this. And then I was listening to Emily go through and was like, yeah, this is unheard of. And on Melanie's stream, the guy Tom, I forget his name, he was the one who comes on and deals with stuff. He's an attorney in Massachusetts. Said, yeah, in the 30 years that I've been practicing law, I've never had to make a motion to a judge to basically say like, hey, we asked for this, give us this back. It's usually just kind of like housekeeping. Like you go there and say like, okay, on this day we're going to be here to pick up evidence. We'll take pictures to go through this. Emily said the same thing. Like you're there, you take pictures, you sign, to say like, okay, this is the condition it came in, and you get it back. But then Emily kind of, and like she didn't get into this whole bunch. She said, well, what if there's another investigation? What if there's a federal investigation? What is an investigation we don't know about that's going on in the background? What if there's, a grand jury somewhere that's, investigating other stuff, and they need the phones for something, but they haven't been able to, come out publicly or tell or share this information with them?
Right.
Would that lead to a comment to say no comment? Because they could have just said like, no, we're not giving them back, fight us, or yes, we're going to give them back. To say no comment, that's suspicious. But then what came out today with Robert Cosgrove in the Turtle saga was very interesting, where there was a whole bunch of quotes, and they're basically saying like, hey, the First Amendment doesn't give you the right, just because you're a journalist doesn't give you the right to go and do this. It's been tested, and he had two cases that said, I think one was in the 80s, one was 2015, something like that said, hey, can't do all this. Then further down said that these because they want the proctor, the Tully stuff to and some of the people in the Turtle issue with the witness intimidation related to Lindsay Gattani, where they were talking back and forth. Yeah, there you go. That's who it is. Tom Kukowski.
Thanks, MCAT.
They said, well, this should be released so that we could see like what you guys were doing. And they said, no, they're under protective orders because this guy, goes on a show and says all this other stuff, but also they need to be protected because there are ongoing investigations. So something is happening behind the scenes that we're not privy to, whether it's at the state level, federal level, both, who knows? But I think that's why everybody's losing their goddamn minds, and everything's fine. Everything's awesome.
Well, so, I found something to share. So this is something Shauna shared with me and Julie, but it's really interesting. screenshots, right? So some of us take screenshots of positive things, maybe a meme you saw and you want to save it for later, or something positive. So there are positive screenshots, but Sean is not wrong. There's a lot of negativity surrounding screenshots, right? Where people they do that because eventually they're thinking, oh, I may need to use this against somebody sometime, or I may need to defend myself from somebody sometime. And isn't that just a shame that we're so like proactive to wanting to protect ourselves from somebody screwing us over down the road? So we take screenshots. I mean, it's just sad, right? And so thank you, Shauna, for reminding me of that. It's just so sad. And then this is what I was looking for, Shauna, when you said to me, human nature is so interesting. And psychology was one of my favorite subjects, and it was one of yours as well that you shared with me. And you used this word woundology, and I put that up. Let me put it back up because I think that's very interesting. You use the word woundology, and you said it's a very terrible thing, but we need to fill these voids of where we've been wounded with flowers, with seeds, plant seeds and grow flowers instead of using it in negative ways. Use your pain for good. And that was just so beautiful the way you said that. I just paraphrased you. I wish I could have heard you say it exactly, but so many people, they don't use their pain for good. They're wounded souls, and they've been hurt by so many people in their past. And then something triggers them with people they're currently involved with. And in this case, it's the Karen Read case, and it's the Free Karen Read movement. And it's everybody, anybody that's live streaming, everybody that's in their chat boxes of the live streamers, and all these people know of each other. They get used to seeing each other's screen names, and they go to each other's live streams. And then, this is person and environment. You're bound to have squabbling going on. You're bound to have issues. It's like everything. It's like, your homeroom, not everybody always got along in your homeroom, or there'd be drama or people talking about each other behind their backs. So this isn't unusual that this happened, but the fact that it raised to a level of such nastiness last January and February, it went on for almost 8 weeks. And then because certain people just said, that's it, I'm done, I'm not commenting about you anymore. And if you stop commenting and you block these people, it just goes away from your life. And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, you see your name being mentioned again. It's very disturbing. So all we can do is we have to rise above the hate. We have to rise above people that want to use social media to dump on you, instead of just coming to you privately and speaking to you privately about something they may not agree with you on, or they may have an issue with you with. And then it gets just blown out of proportion, because people that are friends with the one side are going to want to protect that person, and people that are friends with the other side who believe in that person's side of the story. So then you just have like a mini war going on between two different sides of an argument, of an issue. And then the people on the outside, they don't know who the F to believe. And a lot of them don't care. They don't want to know about your drama. They got their own drama going on. They might have their own issues and their own arguments going on with people. So it snowballs into this just ridiculousness, which could be on a Jerry Springer show from back in the day, or on the Desperate Housewives of whatever city you want to name. And it's just not important. Like I was saying at the beginning of our time together tonight, the reason we're doing this, the reason why Social Change Warriors exists, is to support families who have lost a loved one because somebody else decided to unalive their loved one. They were taken from this earth by the hands of someone else. And we don't like that. We think it's horrible. We think it's atrocious and terrible. And we want to see the police investigate these crimes properly, and not with corruption, and no crime involved, and no dirty cops. And we want to see the person who unalives someone pay for it, because if you unalive someone else, you need to pay for that shit. You shouldn't just get to walk off into the sunset and live your best life like some of these men who have unalived their women and hid them. And some of them are still out there. They're not arrested. They're not in custody. And then the ones that are, their trials are taking forever. They're frustrating to us and to the loved ones of these families. But we're here to advocate for victims of homicides who don't have justice, and for families who don't have justice. We do not want to participate in all of this behind the scenes high school, not even high school, and it's not even grade school. It's just ludicrous crap that goes on with this name calling. And I think, Shauna, you said, he said, she said, you said this, you did that. Why did you do this? I don't like you. I hate you. If I wasn't free, I don't want to hurt the Free Karen Read movement, or I burn you down. I mean, some of the stuff I've seen is just unbelievable. So if you can't get along with someone who's following a cause you're following, don't talk to them. Just walk away, leave them be in their own little hateful beautiful corner of the world, and let's all just walk away from hate and continue to advocate for people who have been unalived by the hands of someone else. That's what we're here for.
Consider the source. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah. MCAT says, hurt people. Fact. Yeah. Until they can go and get some really good counseling, and hopefully you got a good job and you can get therapy paid for so you don't have to try to pay for it out of your own pocket, because there are some excellent therapists out there, excellent psychologists, psychiatrists, whatever level you need. There's all levels of therapy. There's social workers level therapy. There's master degree social workers level therapists. There's psychiatrists, psychologists, whatever level of help. Usually you need both a psychiatrist and a psychologist, because a psychologist is not going to know the best meds for you to be on to help you through your crisis, where a psychiatrist is going to know more of the higher level spectrum of your disorder, or whatever is causing you to have anger management issues, or if you have any type of an issue with PTSD, or if you bipolar, or personality disorder. There's so many scary things out there that a person can acquire through their life, through trauma. And you need help with these things. You need psychiatry, you need psychologists or therapists. You need to seek them. Don't be too big of a person to seek out help for your troubles, because what MCAT just said is, when you're hurt, then you have a short trigger, and that trigger could cause you then to do or say something to others that you really didn't want to do. And then once you're in the cyclone, you're just circling. And then you get people to help you in that circle of destruction. And then you've got a whole load of people in this cyclone now. And it's just horrific the way this happens in our society. But again, this is all person and environment stuff, where people sometimes just want to get involved in drama. They want drama. They need drama. They crave it. I've never completely understood it. But it does happen, and it can happen to the best of us. So everyone has to be better and do better and treat everyone with kindness, because we just don't know how long we get to be here. And some of these people that we're advocating for were very young. Their lives were cut short because of the hands of someone else's decision. So you have to honor your life, respect your life, and treat others with kindness. And what a wonderful world this could be if all of us that are sane humans that would never hurt anyone else, would never unalive anyone else, but we still have to treat each other respectfully and kindly. We don't want to hurt people with our words and our actions. I love that, Shauna. Rise to the penthouse of your soul. Don't live in the basement of your penthouse. Rise to the penthouse of your soul. I love that so much. Shauna says, I just can't believe the hate on that Twitter when you ladies share it's schoolyard I don't recognize. Yes, it is. But the sad thing, like I said, about social media is that it's everywhere now. Almost everyone uses it, and true crime uses it. I mean, they use it to share out about the evidence, about the cases. They use either Facebook or Instagram or the TikTok. I call it the TikTok. I've never done that one. I've seen it because people send me things, but I don't really want to engage in that one. But that is the case of what's going on right now. This is how all these people communicate. It's like just think of it as this big giant warehouse, and there's little offices in this big giant warehouse, and that's all the people following true crime sitting in their little tiny offices in this big giant warehouse of true crime. And the only way they can communicate, because we don't use the old fashioned way anymore, we don't call each other to talk about it. Now we text. I mean, that's nice that we can do that. But to have this big, this is a worldwide community where the worldwide community can communicate is social media. And then people misuse it, and they don't treat it appropriately like they should. And they use it for nefarious means, and for to dox and to discredit and to hurt people. And it's no different than old school bullying on a playground. When you're on a playground and kids start making fun of you and calling you names, that's low level. But now it's this high level where everybody's in this big giant cloud of social media, and they can all talk to each other, and where they should be just using it for good, to share evidence that we hear about, to share theories, to share hypotheses about these crimes and about the suspects and the victims. They end up using it for not good, because what MCAT just said, they're hurting for some reason. So then they find ways to hurt others via social media. That's just the best way I can break that down for people that don't use it. Julie, you've used it off and on. What are your thoughts about that?
I think it's a big waste of time. And I'll say this. I mean, I don't want to get too woo, but this is something that kind of sat with me for some time, because I mean, I always look and I'm like, I don't understand why people deal with such like petty bullshit of like, oh, look at that one's hair. Oh, look at the clothes this one's wearing. Oh, look at the way this one looks at me. Don't you have a problem with this? Well, she said this. Well, this one said this. Oh, blah, blah, blah. Like, why do they spend so much time about that when you could just live your life and do that? But anyways, so when all the stuff about like when Netflix and all the people came out where it's like, oh, turns out all the lights, like the flashing lights that you've seen in the sky and all the stories that you've heard about people being abducted and seeing, you know, like extraterrestrials and having all this energy around, like, oh, turns out there might have been some truth to that. So when all that stuff came out, they had all these stories from like, you know, years and years ago where people were documented, like something happened. I was with these beings and whatever it was. So I remember one of those, I'm like, okay, you kind of got to take some of the stuff with a grain of salt, but it was interesting. One of the people who I guess was, you know, driving along and all of a sudden they see all these bright lights, and they said that they were like paralyzed and frozen, like they couldn't move, but they said that they could see this light flashing, and they said that all of a sudden they could hear something just in their mind, like they couldn't hear stuff around, like surrounding or anything. They couldn't see anybody, but they could hear somebody communicating with them and kind of like reading their out there like inner monologue, where they're like, you know, just like, hey, just be calm, you know, we're gonna, like something happened, like their electromagnetic field got worked up and they were having a heart attack, and so whatever this was trying to help this person, was like, hey, just, you know, just relax. But then this other thing said, like, you humans, if you only realized your potential instead of starting conflict with people, you would, you know, be, you know, like extremely impressive. Like, you're here and you could be up here, like with all this potential, but you spend your time, you know, fighting, causing conflict where there isn't a conflict, and just causing problems where there aren't problems. If you only realize your potential, you could be, you know, this greater being. I always thought of that, where it's like, you know, that does make a lot of sense. And like to hear this kind of like it's getting like a little like woo, like, oh, okay, Julie, like the aliens told you to be all you could be. Like, no, but like it does make sense. Like, we're capable of so much more, but we spend so much goddamn time on the fucking bullshit of just, oh, you said this. Well, if a pilot trash is telling you this, like, and people are listening to it, like, consider the source, like, go do something else. Like, we have the ability to do such great shit, like great stuff here. And instead we're in conflict with, do you know what that one said about me? Do you know what this one said? Oh my God, this one made a scene and this one, like, it doesn't get anywhere. Like, we have all this stuff where we could do so much, and it's being.
And what is the solution though? And that's the problem, is that
don't listen to it. Like, okay, fine.
Right.
You know,
but when you have
with a clump of clay says this thing about me, great, wonderful. You said that thing, and I'm going to go on. Like, unless it's causing you physical harm.
And here's the
like
thing,
somebody sending you threatening messages, which turns out somebody had been doing, and it looks like their messages were brought up in the Cosgrove stuff, and it looks like, you know, things might be happening.
Here's the thing, Julie, and I know you and Shauna have this take on it, that it's just social media or it's just Twitter. But here's where the problem lies, is that in solution focused therapy, when you learn about when you have a problem, if all you do is complain about the problem, but you never seek out a solution to your problem, then you're not going to get through therapy. There'll be no happy ending at the end of your therapy. So if we're going to therapy the problems with social media, we have to figure out a solution though, because we also can't just allow bullies to in no more did I want bullies to exist on the playground. I wanted a solution to that. I wanted the bullying to end on the playground. So what steps do we take for that? Same thing. We can't really allow people to do too much bullying on the internet either. We can't just allow people to constantly be using the internet for wrongful means. So there still has to be some policing of the internet, because so many people are using it. And like I just explained, how else would so the good part about social media is that all of these people that were interested in Karen Read and freeing her and justice for John O'Keefe were able to conference with each other. We're able to talk to each other. You're able to read what they post. You can comment, you can share it out. You can quote tweet. Facebook, you can like it, you can share it out, post it on your page. So there's a lot of good that comes from social media when you are in any venue that you're in anything that you follow, but especially for true crime, because how else would everybody that is interested in a case convene about it and talk about it, unless you're just only doing it in the tubers, chats. But those things fly by a million miles an hour. Most of us get super dizzy even trying to keep up with those chats, where on social media at your leisure, you can go read up on someone that is following the case like you are, and you can follow them and you can comment and, like I said, retweet. But those of us that use social media for that reason, to keep in touch with others that are following these cases, how long do we sit by and let a group of people abuse the system that we are trying to keep as clean as possible? If we're not going to police them, who is? Right?
Well, I mean, like I said at the beginning of the live, where I put up the press release from the Department of Justice. I mean, I forget where they said it, but they said that they're monitoring social media accounts. So maybe that's where it comes from.
I mean, good, but I still don't think it's terrible or harmful if once in a while, if you, as an independent consumer of this social media and following true crime, and you see somebody acting out and being a total idiot, for you to say something about it, because again, see something, say something. It's sort of the same thing. And it's controversial, because how much do you want to insert yourself with people that are constantly trying to stir the pot? And I get your point on that if it's coming from someone that's just trying to be a pot stirrer or a grifter or whatever the case may be, just trying to get their audience stirred up over something that doesn't really exist or that should have been kept private in the first place. Where do you draw the line on that? It's frustrating. I mean, there's no doubt it's frustrating, but I don't have anything against anybody that wants to defend themselves on social media or that wants to stick up for others when people are just going crazy and acting ridiculous. I don't have a problem with that. And just be careful, watch yourself. Don't let your brain get too wrapped around in it too much. But I still think it's okay to defend others and to defend yourself when it comes to social media bullying. That's just my opinion. All right. Well, tonight we covered a lot. I mean, we talked quite a bit about Sandra Birchmore, justice for Sandra Birchmore, and what is happening with Matthew Farwell and these continued changing in his, coming to court for these hearings, preliminary hearings and status hearings. And it looks like maybe finally we'll get to see something happen in October. But from the comments that we saw on social media, people are not confident in that. They're not sure what the heck's going on with this federal investigation. And of course, there's still that elephant in the room. Why didn't Massachusetts file their own charges, right? So there's a lot that will still have to happen with this case regarding Matthew Farwell and his brother and William Devine and Joshua Heel. So obviously, we'll continue to advocate for justice for Sandra Birchmore and talk about what is happening with this upcoming trial of Matthew and hopefully the arrests of others that were involved and police officers who helped to cover up what was a homicide, and they tried to make it look like an unaliving of herself. It's egregious. So we'll stay on top of that. And then we had, of course, Julie brought us that interesting hearing, I guess, for lack of a better word. Is that what we want to call it? The hearing having to do with very bizarre findings that are going on now with the Brian Walshe case and the missing what we believe was the unaliving of his wife, Ana Walshe, and she's been missing all this time. So that was primarily what we focused on tonight, with a lot of other things sprinkled in, like Julie and I always do with our live chat. You guys were a little quiet tonight. You must have had a busy week. Too much going on in everyone's world. So we didn't have a lot of comments tonight from all of our wonderful live in our friend zone. Was quite quiet tonight, Julie.
Well, that's all right. I mean, we more than made up for talking about all sorts of other stuff. But
yes.
Well, I mean, you want to talk explosive. What's going to happen next week? Next week's going to be a very, very big week. We're going to see what happens on Monday. Again, it's not going to be televised, but what comes out of it, I mean, it's going to be Monday, start of the week. We're going to start off with federal court, and we're going to see what comes out of it. Could be nothing, could be a whole bunch of shit. So we're going to see. Tuesday, oh my God.
What time is that taking place again? Do we know on Monday?
Oh, on Monday, it's I think it's either 2 or 2:30.
Oh, okay. That's fine. Everybody can keep an eye on that. And
Tuesdays all day.
Yeah. And then there's, of course, Aiden has his next hearing coming up. Is that the 13th?
Yeah, that's the 13th.
So that's a while. That's another week away yet. So
yeah. And then there's the stuff that came out today with the stuff with the Cosgrove stuff where Cosgrove basically quoted back stuff the Turtle said. And then at the end of it, took a tweet from that Jason freak and showed him making recent threats, and other stuff came out online. So, if he's handled through the court system, that seems to be something that both sides can agree on, that there's something there and they need to look at it.
Yeah, well, there'll be a lot more to talk about next week on Friday Night Lives, I'm sure. And sadly, let's hope maybe we can get through a whole week without another double or quadruple unaliving. I don't know. It just seems like every week there's more nefarious things happening in our country, just shocking and tragic unaliving going on. It just seems like it's one thing after another. It's very depressing, but we have to continue to stand for the victims of these atrocities. So thank you, Julie. Thanks for all of the great information that you provided tonight. Thanks for being the yin to my yang. And thanks to everybody in our friend zone tonight for your comments. Even though you were a little quiet tonight, I'll look for you to be a little more active next week. Thanks to everybody on replay. I know you have so many channels that are covering all of the same advocating for a lot of the same people that we're advocating for, but we do it on a little bit different level. So in most of our cases that we're advocating for, most of the victims, we have contact with their families and we're trying to help them along with justice. I have not reached out to anybody in the Ana Walshe family yet to see if there's anything more we can do just to advocate for her than what we're already doing. But I do tend to like to get permission if I can from the families when I advocate. But it's not always possible, but when we can, we do. So we'll let you know anything we find out between now and next Friday on our next episode of Friday Night Lives next week. Julie, any closing thoughts?
Not that I can think of. Next week's going to be explosive. So I mean, I don't know if anything's going to come out over the weekend.
Hold on to your new hats. I may have to get a new hat for next week. I don't know. We just never know. Oh, MCAT says, I was not home. Sorry. I listened to most. Next Friday, I will not be distracted. Lally on the stand Tuesday and Proctor. Yeah.
Lally, Proctor, and Tully.
Yeah, well, maybe you'll come up on the platform with us next week, MCAT. And no worries. I was just teasing you guys, but you were all very quiet tonight. I'm used to you guys all being a little more vocal. So, but it's okay because, as you know, Julie and I can go back and forth and yin and yang ourselves for 5 hours. I think our record during the Karen Reed trial was 5 hours and 55 minutes. And you guys were very active that night, too. But that was the record. We're going to try not to break that one, right, Julie, if we can help it. Yes. So, all right, everyone. Well, we will be back next Friday with more Friday Night Lies. Did they lie? Are they telling the truth? Are they being evasive? And what the hell is going on with Massachusetts and with all of these other cases that we're following with the police and the government. And it's just a lot. It's always going to be a lot. And we're just glad we have such a wonderful community here at Social Change Warriors that cares about victims of crimes, cares about their families, and wants to talk it all out with us every week. We really appreciate it. So we will see you all back next week. I hope you guys have a good weekend. I hope it cools off wherever you are in the world, and that you get to do something fun and let yourself have a break from the atrocities, because it is a lot, and it weighs on our souls. And we have so much empathy and care and concern for all the families of the victims that we advocate for. So thank you, everyone. Good night.
Feds are watching.
Good night, Julie. Thank you so much. Good night, everyone. I'm just going to play us out with our theme song, My Life Mattered.
They try to silence the truth we shout, but we're still here, we're still calling out. Corruption hides behind a badge of name. We light the fire, expose the shame. We're justice seekers, we'll fight the fight for every voice lost in the night. My life mattered is the cry we sing for the ones they tried to bury within. It's just us, we're a movement wide. Together we rise, won't run nor hide. The stories echo, the pain runs deep. For stolen lives we can't just weep. Elected power, but their hearts are cold. We'll bring the truth, let it be told. We're justice seekers, we'll fight the fight for every voice lost in the night. My life mattered is the cry we sing for the ones they tried to bury within. It's just us, we're a movement wide. Together we rise, won't run nor hide. We're justice seekers, we'll fight the fight. The heroes undo the harm. Calling out corruption, we'll stand tall. For justice and truth, we'll risk it all. My